thought that there might be some interest because of what he said in the campaign.
President Bush, this is your brain. This is your brain on Botox. Okay? That's the lesson of that one.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
And now, another minute of Madam Speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
But again, don't...
You have these wings, AOC and her group on one side.
That's like my people. They would say, play games, and then they'd say, open sesame. Except we don't say sesame, we say open Biden. But no, because we are not. We have the number is growing. We have 91 women. There are 115 women in Congress, 116. 15 are Republican, 91 are Democrats. I happen to be a manifestation of the women power that is coming forth now, but only one manifestation. It was like getting kicked in the back by a mule constantly. It was physical. It was so unbelievable. The Times found Lincoln. Not to be presumptuous to put ourselves in those categories, but the Times have found us.
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. You get a lot of patients, I'm sure, who are apprehensive about veneers. What are some of the questions and fears you get when you're dealing with new patients?
Some people think they could look too fake, but true cosmetic dentistry is incredibly detail-oriented.
Hey, Howie.
Yes.
I do have a mashup. It's not on your cut sheet. It's a mashup of Bernie and Biden for getting coronavirus.
Okay, good. Okay, so I can just call for the mashup, or did you put it in the intro?
You can just call for it. It's about 45 seconds.
Okay. And I just want to get all of them in there together. That's good. Thanks. Okay, we'll have that very quickly. Okay,
sure.
Thanks.
People, in fact, most dentists are just surprised that we can create what we can create nowadays. Everyone is different. Everyone has different facial dimensions, different bone structure, and we do everything we can to individualize treatment because there is no one perfect smile. It is your perfect smile.
Dr. Houghton, where can people find you?
So you can find us at Perfect Smiles.
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
The CNN Univision Democratic presidential debate with the two leading candidates, former Vice President Joe Biden and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Welcome. It's good to have you.
What? Huh? So? What? So, well, did you? What?
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
What do you say to the American people who are confronting this new reality?
First of all, my heart goes out to those who have already lost someone.
To address the economic crisis as a result of Ebola. Keep talking about Ebola. You got Ebola in my head here right now.
Excuse me, we've been through this before with dealing with the viruses that the N1H15, as well as what happened in Africa, because their islands are sinking.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way, like an improv conversation. Improvisation.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
We now have a situation where Trump's own people are actually in greater danger, but those of us who live in this earth can't even reach them.
Not the earth. Another earth.
Guess what? Coronavirus!
Unchained and unstoppable.
More people are dead and dying in America tonight because Donald Trump is president.
This is so dramatic. Maybe the president's trying to pressure Google to get it done faster, but there's no indication that game is working.
As you know, this is from Google. They put out a release, and you guys can figure it out yourselves and how that got out, and I'm sure you'll apologize, but it would be great if we could really give the news correctly. It would be so wonderful.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
If this is really such a crisis, wouldn't you think that the two leading contenders for the Democrat nomination for president could remember the name of the virus that's causing the pandemic? How many ways did they screw it up last night between the... That's a rhetorical question. We have it ready for you in case you didn't happen to watch. It was painful, of course. And oddly, CNN forgot to ask Joe Biden about his lying about being arrested with Nelson Mandela. This was the first debate since he admitted that he was making it all up about being arrested with Nelson Mandela back in the 1970s. But hey, it's all Democrat operatives just trying to massage one another, fluff one another up. But they still couldn't do it. I mean, that's how bad Bernie and Biden were. I mean, they're each terrible in their own way. And I guess Bernie was slightly worse. I think Bernie's real role in that debate last night was to kind of prop up Biden and make him seem less insane. But he may be slightly less insane, but he wants to end fracking. He doesn't want to deport any more illegal aliens. For the first 100 days, he's going to appoint a black female to the Supreme Court. I guess there's going to be like some kind of lottery. You know, any black female can just put her name in and get picked, because that's the only qualification, is to be a black female. I mean, there really is no need for any legal experience or law school or passing the bar exam, because the Democrat justices on the Supreme Court, they all vote as a block, whatever they're told to by the party. There is no freedom of thought. So why shouldn't it be open to any black woman in America? That's, as far as I can see, and there will be the female running mate. I guess should we do that as well? Didn't he say he was definitely going to have a female running mate? So just, that should be I guess white women are allowed, or Native American women. Maybe Elizabeth Warren can apply to play that one. Go into your local supermarket if there's not a fight going on at the toilet paper counter, and buy a Powerball ticket, buy a Mega Millions ticket, and if you're a female, enter the lottery to become Joe Biden's running mate. 844-500-4242. But we need to hear this mashup. This, again, remember, this is an existential threat to the planet. This is the worst virus ever, and they don't even know the name of it. Mashup.
We've been through this before with the coronavirus. We've been through this before. We've been through this before with dealing with the viruses that the N1H15, as well as what happened in Africa.
The Ebola crisis, in my view, exposes the dysfunctionality of our healthcare system. And the Ebola crisis is also, I think, exposing the cruelty and the unjustness of our economy today.
No one is in a position where they have a significant financial disability as a consequence of this SARS, of this particular crisis.
We have got to move aggressively right now to address the economic crisis as a result of Ebola. Keep talking about Ebola. I got Ebola in my head here right now.
And what about the N1H1? Isn't it the H1N1? I'm pretty sure that's the way it goes. And you have to remember too that Donald Trump is a terrible, terrible xenophobe for calling it a foreign virus. Okay, let's play the cut 16.
This is the most aggressive and comprehensive effort to confront a foreign virus in modern history.
To which Sleepy Joe, Uncle Joe, that's Uncle Joe. He's moving kind of slow at the junction. Here he is, cut 15.
This is a crisis. But neither should we panic or fall back on xenophobia. Labeling COVID-19 a foreign virus does not displace accountability for the misjudgments that have been taken thus far by the Trump administration.
It's xenophobic to call it a foreign virus. That was Joe Biden then. This was Joe Biden last night, cut 3.
This is a crisis. This is like we are being attacked from abroad. This is something that is of great consequence. This is like a war.
So if we're being attacked from abroad, isn't that like being attacked from a foreign source? And you're not supposed to call it the coronavirus either, but he called it SARS last night, which is, isn't SARS Southeast Asia respiratory syndrome or something, or South Asia respiratory syndrome. 844-500-4242.
Maybe he just meant like abroad, and he was being very sexist and misogynistic.
You mean when he said, yeah, I'm gonna pick my running mate abroad?
Exactly. You got it. That's Joe Biden's train of thought.
Okay, anything is possible here. Anything is possible with the grumpy old men last night. I hung in for an hour until they opened it up to the people who had recorded their plaintive questions earlier, and the first one was this female law professor from Arizona, and she said, "Women are the canaries in the coal mines." And at that point, I turned it back to ESPN and I said, "Hey, how come there are no games on? What are the pairings for March Madness? Who's Carolina playing in the first round?" No, I didn't say that. I knew. 844-500-4242. You know, remember Hank Johnson, the congressman from Georgia, who talked about how he was concerned that Guam was going to tip over? Well, Joe Biden, he might give some thought to putting Hank Johnson in the cabinet when becomes the president, because he's got a problem too with these islands that are having problems staying afloat. Cut 6.
Because as populations have to move because they can no longer live where they are because their islands are sinking.
The islands are sinking. Abandon ship. Abandon ship. Man, I'll be, when I'm down in Florida, I live on an island. I'm very concerned. Some morning I'm going to wake up and the lamp and the radio on the bed and the bedside table are just going to fall over into me, and I'll know that the island is sinking.
What about your record player?
That too. Islands are sinking. Who knew?
Your brand new Plymouth is going to be underwater.
Someone says H1N1, 60 million infected in 10 months. 18,000 Americans died when Obama was president. No panic. I read that thing and tweeted it out. We got more stuff to read on that. But see, he wasn't talking about it. You'll notice, though, and I missed this until a couple hours ago, he didn't refer to the H1N1 epidemic or pandemic, whatever you want to call it. He referred to the N1H1. Does anyone remember the N1H1 pandemic? That's the one Joe Biden was talking about. They dealt with that in the Situation Room. He kept saying the Situation Room over and over again. I don't think we have time to get to it, but we're going to take a lot of calls here. We've got a lot to get to here today, and we're going to get to everything. 844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr.
You're tuned into the Howie Carr.
Taylor, what have we got coming up here?
If you want to call New England Center
we
for
got
Hair
cheap
Restoration
bastard deals and all this.
$6,000 hair.
Yes, we should have a cheap bastard deal at 320. Yeah,
320. Now, which one is this one?
This is. Hold on,
because I haven't got a sheet on this one.
Zach's Lobster Tail Restaurant and Lounge.
Okay, where is it? Do you have a sheet?
It's in Windham, New Hampshire. I'll have McKay print it up for you.
Okay, right. Okay, McKay, you'll print it up for me. Zach's Lobster Tail Restaurant and Lounge.
I'm going to send him something on it.
Okay, great. Okay, we'll do that right now.
And we've got those Trudeau cuts too.
Oh, you got the Trudeau cut? Okay.
Yeah, the one from today. He does say it today. He's closing the border.
Yeah.
And the one from a few weeks ago.
Okay, great. Good. Okay. Free hair, or visit 6khair.com. 6khair.com.
He's the co-sponsor of the Green New Deal, so what better time to play some of his greatest hits? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Mr. Frosty.
This is going to be a mission to save all of creation.
If you want to ignore that these changes are taking place and that they're having a dramatic impact, then you are in the right place.
Do you know what the winters were like at Plymouth Rock? Do you know what the winters were like at Plymouth Rock, Senator?
Well, here is the thing.
You don't? How long has your family been in Massachusetts?
We are new arrivals. And, Mr. President, American history was made last night. The Boston Patriots won the Super Bowl. When the Second Amendment was written in order to maintain a well-regulated militia, they did not have in mind that people could purchase guns indiscriminately. The president is acting like Pontius Pilate.
The Subaru of New England, Washington's birthday sales event lasts all month long. Feel the freedom in the all-new all-wheel drive 2020 Subaru Outback with standard LED headlights, starting at only $26,645 with 0.9% financing for up to 48 months, or lease for only $249 per month for 36 months with $2449 due at signing. Details at SubaruofNewEngland.com.
And now, 1 minute of Nancy Pelosi.
It is a bill that is much needed for our farmers and ranchers. I think there are only 47 votes against it in the House of Representatives. The American people should know the source of it. Again, we are engaged in the year-end continuing resolution, Homeland Security. I'm not sure. No, I haven't spoken to him since he called the other day, which was a very amicable conversation. Amiable, I guess you would say, not amicable. And I talked to Chuck last night to say, we haven't had an answer. There are other things that are going on that are newsworthy, and I think you'd have more viewers or readers if people address concerns that people have. The list goes on about the
This is Deb in Danielson, Connecticut.
This is Greg in Boston, Mass.
This is Elizabeth in Wakefield, Massachusetts, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. They just announced a mandatory curfew in Palm Beach. That's where I'm staying right now. I was supposed to come back this week, but I wasn't concerned about getting infected with coronavirus. I was concerned about not being able to get a plane back to Palm Beach. And I didn't want to spend the merry what's left of March and the first half of April in under Arctic house arrest, even though it's been an easy winter. But I'm down here. But now I don't know what the mandatory curfew starting at 9:00 tomorrow night will do to prevent the spread of SARS, Ebola, NH, H1, H1N1, whatever Joe and Bernie think the name of it is. Anyway, we've got a cheap bastard deal for you to cheer you up.
It's Howie Carr's cheap bastard deal.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds too good to be true.
Oh no, it's real and it's a steal.
You know there's plenty more when you shop at Howie's store for another Howie Carr cheap bastard deal.
Howie Carr, the cheapest bastard around.
All right, this is for New Hampshire. We're trying to get cheap bastard deals all in our listing area. This one's in Windham, New Hampshire. Zach's Lobster Tail Restaurant and Lounge. We have $50 gift cards for $25. Go to HowieCarrShow.com and click on store. HowieCarrShow.com and click on store. Joining us on the line is to tell us about Zach's Lobster Tail Restaurant and Lounge is Zach himself, the owner operator. Zach, are you there?
I'm here, Howie.
So tell us about your restaurant.
All right. Well, we've been open for 17 years.
Yeah.
We have a full restaurant and in lounge area. We seat about 130 people. Lounge has its own area, and the restaurant has its own area as well. Very family orientated and family friendly. So it doesn't matter who you are or how many people you have, kids, adults. it doesn't matter. You can come in and you can enjoy some of the best seafood that New England has to offer.
And it says you also have not just seafood, but you have all kinds of steaks, chicken, etc. 10% discount every day for military if you pay cash all day every day. And so you got a lot of parking, Zach?
We do. We got plenty of parking for everybody. We can go on a 2-hour wait and still have plenty of parking in the area there. It's definitely not a problem. And we do have something for everybody. If you don't like fish and not everybody in your party wants to eat that, we have a 32-ounce bone-in cowboy ribeye. We got fillets. We got New York strips. We got chicken fried or grilled, steak tips, burgers, hot dogs. We got something for the taste buds of everybody.
Excellent. And the New Hampshire hasn't been shut down or affected as of yet. So everything's cool in New Hampshire, right?
Yeah, that's right. It has not been. So we are 100% operational. We have done everything that we could to ensure a nice, clean environment. I've had a cleaning company come in the last 2 weeks, once a week, and we've cleaned the restaurants. Me and my wife, we stay there very late, making sure that the tables are clean, the booths are clean, the bathrooms are clean, and everything's super spotless. My staff does a wonderful job cleaning off menus and doorknobs and all that stuff to make sure that it's a nice, safe environment for anybody who wants to get out of the house and enjoy a great meal that you don't have to make yourself. And we are good to go.
Yeah, and you may have to drive a little further now if you're in Massachusetts, but New Hampshire is still open for business, and certainly Zach's Lobster Tail Restaurant and Lounge in Wyndham is. And you have no freezers, it says? No freezers at all?
I've got a small chest freezer that I have to have, and I do mean small. Small is something that you have in your house. I buy my fish every day. I buy my beef every day. I buy everything every day that I need to keep the restaurant running. That way I have a nice fresh product that's going through the door every day. I don't buy anything that's frozen. I hand select all my fish myself. So I know what's coming through the door, and I know it's all of the best and top quality that money can buy.
And you got specials on the weekend too, right?
We do. I come up with innovative stuff. It might be, fish from down south, or it could be a snapper, or a grouper, or a Spanish mackerel, or, whatever it is. We could have, I do all sorts of different stuff.
Right. And someone's asking me, Zach, they're saying, is this a rain check? Cheap bastard deal? No, Zach's is not shut down. This is not Massachusetts. This is New Hampshire, Wyndham, New Hampshire. Right, Zach?
That's right. We're only a few miles up 93 from Massachusetts. So I'm a 10-minute drive from Massachusetts, just on the other side of Salem, New Hampshire. So it's exit 3 off of 93 to 111. It's not a very far drive at all for the normal person.
So Ernie Bach used to say, come on down. So you can say, come on up. Come on up to Zach's in Wyndham, New Hampshire, open for business like the rest of the Granite State, live free or die state. So you've got these are $50 gift cards for $25. We only have a limited number, so get on board now. HowieCarShow.com. Click on store. You're not going to be able to go out to dinner anywhere. You can still get delivery, I suppose, in Massachusetts, but you can't go out to dinner basically much. But you can still go to places like Zach's Lobster Tail Restaurant and Lounge. Check it out. Zach, you're going to have, I think you're going to be deluged with business here. Not just, the cards won't be out probably until Wednesday. People won't be getting them until Wednesday, but you're going to be deluged tonight, I would think. Where are you getting calls from Massachusetts?
I hope so. I'm getting calls from everywhere asking if we're open, asking if we deliver. You know what, Howie? We just started a delivery service going to start up this Friday.
Yeah.
The people that are afraid to leave, we're gonna bring it to you. We're gonna bring that top quality, top notch food. We're gonna take it. We're gonna bring it directly to your house if that's what we need to do. But we are open for business. All 140 seats. They all need a seat. They all need a person to sit in them. And we're open for business. And we'd love to have whoever and however many to come in and enjoy what we have to offer.
Excellent. The price of one of the silver linings here is the price of gas is going down almost every day. So it's cheaper to get in your car and drive up. Zach's Lobster Tail Restaurant and Lounge. Get your $50 gift certificate for $25 right now. HowieCarrShow.com. Click on store. We'll be right back and take your calls on the debate. I'm Howie Carr.
John, what happened at Perfect Smiles when you went?
The initial consultation was easy. In the past, they just hand me a clipboard to fill out the forms, but that's not how I worked at Perfect Smiles. What was nice was it was a true consultation. They asked me my medical history or what I wanted to get out of the treatment plan. For me, I lived with TMJ. I'd literally have to crack my jaw throughout the day to relieve the pressure. I'd get headaches throughout the day. I'd be in pain. When I was at Perfect Smiles, they asked me what I wanted to get out of the treatment. As a joke, I just said, geez, I'd love you to be able to fix my TMJ. And I was surprised because Dr. Houghton specializes in working with patients like me that have TMJ.
What were the results of visiting Dr. Houghton at Perfect Smiles?
Not only did I walk out of that office with a perfect smile, but he fixed my TMJ. It was a life-changing event. People tell me now that my smile's amazing. People would say, geez, John, your teeth look so great. I never realized my teeth looked so bad before. Now I take a look at the before and after pictures, and I'm amazed.
Go to Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire, or visit their website, perfectsmiles.com.
Yes.
The Moonbats always say Donald Trump isn't very bright. But what about Barack Hussein Obama? Let's listen to some of his
whose press conference?
I've now been in 50.
Fauci's speaking right now.
Okay, yeah, let's hear him.
I think one left.
How long all of this might last? Do you have any kind of estimate that if Americans really were to band together and do what the White House is suggesting, how quickly you could turn this corner?
My favorite question, I ask it all the time. How many times, Anthony, I think I ask him that question every day, and I speak to Deborah, I speak to a lot of them. I get the opinion. So it seems to me that if we do a really good job, we'll not only hold the death down to a level that is much lower than the other way, had we not done a good job. But people are talking about July, August, something like that. So it could be right in that period of time where I say it washes through. Other people don't like that term, but where it washes through.
So is this the new normal until the height of the summer?
We'll see what happens, but they think August, could be July, could be longer than that. But I've asked that question many, many times. Yes.
That being said, Mr. President, Americans today and looking forward are living with so much anxiety and so much fear facing uncertainty right now. I'm curious, how are you talking to your own family about this? How are you talking to your youngest son? Do you empathize with this sense of anxiety? People are really scared.
No, I think they are very scared. I think they see that we're doing a very professional job. We've been working with the governors and frankly, the mayor's local government at every level. We have FEMA totally involved. FEMA has been, usually we see FEMA for the hurricanes and the tornadoes. Now we have FEMA involved in this. They've been doing a fantastic job locally, working with people that they know because they work, like as an example, in California, in the state of Washington. They work with them a lot on other things, and they're very familiar, so they're working on it. What you can do, and all you can do, is professional, totally competent. We have the best people in the world. We have really the greatest experts in the world. And someday soon, hopefully it'll end and we'll be back to where it was. But this came up, it came up so suddenly. Look, he was surprised. We were all surprised. We heard about it. We heard about reports from China that something was happening. And all of a sudden, we did make a good decision. We closed our borders to China very quickly, very rapidly. That was a otherwise, we'd be in a very, as Tony has said numerous times, we'd be in a very bad position, much worse than we would be right now. You look at what's happening in other countries. Italy's having a very hard time. But I think that what we do, and I've spoken actually with my son, he says, how bad is this? It's bad. It's bad. But we're going to be hopefully a best case, not a worst case, and that's what we're working for. Yes.
I think you can clear up some confusion on two key fronts. One is about your own test. The other is about containment efforts. Is the administration considering more aggressive containment options, like a quarantine, a national curfew.
Well, we have that very much. Yeah, we have that very much, and we are. We're coming out with strong suggestions, and it's becoming a little bit automatic.
So
you
then-
look at
so then
people;
can
they're
I-
not
can you
doing
put that up
certain
so I can
things. For
just-
instance, they're obviously not.
Just give me-
I wouldn't
just
say
give me
the
some
restaurant
on-
business is booming,
that's
and bars
open
and
for me,
grills and
like
all.
on,
People.
Okay, good. Okay.
Coming back.
Would explode.
Who's your favorite Democrat? Go ahead.
Mitt Romney, Gail. Mitt Romney's my favorite Democrat. How about that?
Please, Lord, in my next life, make me a leftist so I can say anything and get away with it.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
Today's poll question is brought to you by the all-new 2020 Subaru Outback, featuring symmetrical all-wheel drive. Go where love takes you. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Will the White House impose a quote-unquote national curfew by the end of the week?
This was reported by Obama operative with a press pass, Jim Scudo, on CNN earlier today, and the Pence staff, who's he's the vice president, is in charge of this effort. They hit back very quickly and said it was fake news. So I'm going to say no, they will not.
66% say no.
Okay, the president is having a briefing right now, and we'll just dip into it. But I want to take some calls here before we go on. We've got so many sound cuts. Let's go back.
Implying that you hadn't had one when in fact you had.
Well, I told them that, and I went totally by what they said, the doctors, more than one. They said you don't have any of the symptoms. They checked what you're supposed to check, and that I didn't have symptoms. But I did a test late on Friday night, and it came back probably 24 hours later or something. They sent it to the labs, came back later. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, you had a teleconference with the nation's governors today.
Yeah.
And in that teleconference, you told them if they need things like respirators or masks to try to get it on their own. What did you mean by that, and what will the
If
federal
they can
government
get
do to
them
help?
faster by getting them on their own. In other words, go through a supply chain that they may have, because the governors, during normal times, the governors buy a lot of things, not necessarily through federal government. If they're able to get ventilators, respirators, if they're able to get certain things without having to go through the longer process of federal government. We have stockpiles now, and we're ordering tremendous numbers of ventilators, respirators, masks, and they're ordered and they're coming, and we have quite a few at this point. I think, Mike, we have a lot. But if they can get them directly, it's always going to be faster if they can get them directly if they need them. And I've given them authorization to order directly. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, one of the big weaknesses in our healthcare system is surge capacity for medical facilities. And I wanted to ask what precautions, what planning is being done to get China was able to build hospitals in a matter of days. Are you prepared to use the Corps of Engineers or FEMA to start building surge capacity that we may need in a couple of weeks?
Well, first of all, we hope we don't get there, and that's what we're doing, and that's why we're taking a very strict look at this. But we also are looking at areas, and not only looking, we're expanding certain areas. We're taking over buildings that aren't used. We're doing a lot in that regard. We hope we don't have to get there, but we are doing a lot in that regard.
Could you clarify something? These guidelines say stay home if you're sick. Yesterday, the vice president said no one should worry about losing a paycheck if they stay home when they're sick. But the House bill exempts companies of 500 employees or more from the paid sick leave requirement, and that's 54% of the American workplace. Why is it a good idea to only require small businesses to provide paid
Well,
sick
we're
leave?
looking at that, and we may be expanding that. We are looking at that. We want fairness. We want it for everybody. No, we're looking at that through the Senate, because as you know, the Senate is now digesting that bill. So we may very well be adding something on that. Okay? Good question.
Two questions here, Mr. President. One, going off of what he was asking, how many ventilators and how many ICU beds do we have right now, and will it be enough?
I can get back to you with it.
Let's get these questions. There's a bill. It's passed the House, but it hasn't passed the Senate. Why are they asking him about it? He gets the bill when it passes both branches of the legislature. This is civics, high school civics, and this whole thing about the test, the medical test. They were hectoring him about taking a medical test for the virus. Then he took the test, And there was a headline in Rolling Stone, which again, who knew it was still publishing, but at their website, don't believe that he took the test or that he tested positive or negative, excuse me. This is the same Rolling Stone that ran the fake story about the UVA rape. And now they're saying, don't believe the president of the United States when he says he tested negative. This is just ridiculous. It's like we're in the same place where we were on Friday, where he's being yelled at. Yeah, I mean, they're not even questions. They're hectoring him about getting the test. He got the test. God, and then they asked him on Friday. It just drove me crazy all weekend thinking about it. Can you promise that anyone who wants to have a test by Sunday night can have a test? Now, in World War II, the Japanese figured out a way to send balloons into the homeland, into the United States, that had bombs on them, and then the balloons would pop and they'd drop down and people would pick them up, and a handful of people got killed. But it'd be like asking, like in 1944 it happened in, I don't know, Idaho, Montana, somewhere like that. The balloons drifted in. That'd be like asking FDR on December 8th, 1941, can you guarantee that for the duration of this war, no one will be killed by a Japanese or German attack? Well, of course you can't. How can anyone do that? What kind of question is that? It's insane. It's insanity. But they're just trying to trip him up. If you ask Nancy Pelosi that question about the bill, she wouldn't answer the question. How does she know what the Senate's going to do? So it's got to be worked out in a conference committee before it even reaches his desk. These people are idiots. I saw him walk away yesterday. He just made a short statement on Sunday afternoon, and then he just walked out. And I didn't blame him a bit for leaving. It was just ridiculous. We're going to take some calls here, but the first thing I want to do, I want to play Justin Trudeau. He is a really obnoxious person, the PM of Canada. And so this is what Justin Trudeau said 10 days ago, and it's kind of a slap at Donald Trump.
We know that keeping Canadians safe needs to be done in the right way. And we're going to keep doing the things that actually keep Canadians safe. There is a lot of misinformation out there. There is a lot of knee-jerk reaction that isn't keeping people safe, that is having real challenging impacts on communities and on community safety. We're going to stay focused on doing the things that actually matter.
In other words, he's not going to close the border, because that would be a knee-jerk reaction, you see. And he's not about knee-jerk reactions, because he's a Canadian in blackface. Okay, that was 10 days ago.
Denying entry to Canada to people who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents. This measure will carve out some designated exceptions, including for air crews, diplomats, immediate family members of Canadian citizens, and at this time, U.S. citizens.
I have decided to carve out this knee-jerk exemption. So, and Cuomo had Governor Cuomo had a press conference today that seemed to go on for hours. And I was wondering if he had the same reaction that I and so many, I think, of you had to the debate last night, which is, there's no way either one of these guys can be the Democrat nominee. Someone's got to be warming up in the bullpen. And Andrew Cuomo, it seemed to me that whole press conference today, he was warming up in the bullpen. Those guys are clowns. Not that all the rest of them aren't. You just heard the White House press corps acting like clowns. Justin Trudeau acting like a clown. This is really Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey is shut down, but the clown school is apparently still in operation up on the west coast of Florida. 844-500-4242. Bob, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Bob.
Hey, how you doing, Howie?
Good.
Couple of points. First one is N1HHN11 originated in Keene, Vermont. That's the first thing. And the second thing is they were talking about xenophobia and how, xenophobia, this, that. I looked at some still shots of Chinatown last week. There wasn't a soul there. So that tells me that only Republicans and conservatives go to Chinatown. Is that the deal?
Well, it wasn't AOC saying a couple late last week, it's racist if you don't go to Chinatown for a meal. And then a couple days later, she's saying everybody should stay in their house.
The xenophobia extends into the other side. Howie, another point. You're such an understatement when you keep calling them idiots. They really. I hope somebody's keeping an eye on what's going on behind the scenes on this coronavirus and other things, because this is when they sneak things through behind our back when they deal with other. I hope somebody's keeping an eye on them.
No, I know. Well, Pelosi was trying to sneak in some an end run around the Hyde Amendment, stopping federal funds for being used for abortions. I mean, she got caught. But you're right. These are men and women of unsleeping malevolence, as Billy Bulger used to say in a slightly different context. Thanks for the call, Bob. James, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, James.
Yeah, hi, Howie. I'm wondering how long before the state notices a dip in meal tax revenues. Do we lay off the health inspectors because they have nothing to do? If all the kitchens are closed, what are they going to expect?
Well, look what Baker's done in recent. He signed off on a bill that increased the vaping taxes 75%, and also as of July 1st bans menthol cigarettes in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So everybody who smokes menthols now has to drive outside the state to get them. Right? Okay. He wants to. The House has already raised the gas taxes 5 cents. He's got a proposal in there to raise the gas taxes another 26 cents. You think that's going to be great for business? And now the restaurants are going to be closed down. What is he trying to shut down the entire economy of Massachusetts? Just one big step at a time.
Howie, think about the Levitate Music Festival coming up in July. At the Marshfield Fairgrounds, 3 days. It's like freaking Woodstock. They're going to shut that down. I mean, that's a lot of money right there. I mean, all these little towns are going to notice it. We're going to be paying more in taxes. Yeah, I just got my excise taxes. As a matter of fact, today.
James, the Boston Globe website has now got a graph of people who've come down with coronavirus in Massachusetts. I think it's 160. Do you know how many fatalities we have in Massachusetts so far now that the state has basically been put on modified lockdown? Zero people dead in Massachusetts, according to the Boston Globe.
Yeah, no, it's sad. Hey, I work for UPS. We're not slowing down. I'm not afraid no damn coronavirus.
You ain't afraid of no Ghostbusters or coronavirus either. Thanks, James. John, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Howie, this is a snowflake virus as far as I'm concerned. But, Howie, the president has to tell the country to get a grip. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. I mean, he's going to snap at one of these press conferences and tell the country, look, what did these World War II veterans go through? If this is what the country's reaction is to the coronavirus, I hate to see what would happen if we had a real problem with this country.
I know.
Thanks, Howie.
I know. Thanks. Well, again, we'll get back to talking more about swine flu or H1N1. Now I'm getting confused because I've been listening to these sound cuts from Biden, but the difference is just amazing. I mean, it took after it was declared a pandemic by the WHO, it took Obama 4 months to declare it an emergency, to declare a national emergency. And then he went out and played golf. And the New York Times congratulated him for trying to keep the panic down to a level of nothingness, which there was no panic. But can you imagine if Trump had declared a national emergency 2 days after it was declared a pandemic, and everybody's gone crazy? And can you imagine if he had played golf after declaring it a national emergency? Do you think the New York Times would have editorialized that he was showing great restraint in tamping down any kind of anxiety in the general population? Of course not. 844-500-4242. Again, go to the Globe website and see that ominous chart. 0 deaths in Massachusetts so far. The state is half shut down. 0
but Howie,
deaths.
I think that a big part of what Trump's trying to do and what
even I hate to give him credit here, but even Charlie Baker and Marty Walsh, is Trump said during his press conference today, we want this to be a best case scenario. We don't want it to be a worst case scenario. So if they do things now, like social distancing, it won't get to the point of Italy where people have to stay in their buildings all day long. So
Right.
I mean, I don't fault anyone for trying to be, trying to get ahead of it and trying to help people.
I know, but there is no need for this panic, and these questions from the media are just designed. They're not treating it like it's serious. It's just another effort to get Donald Trump. That's all. Right. That's all it comes down to. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back. I'm Howie Carr.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Radio Network.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Boone's Fish House and Oyster Room on the
struggling with the coronavirus and people that are concerned that they may have been exposed. The other piece is we're grateful that the legislation passed by the House of Representatives includes liability protection for N95 masks produced by companies like 3M in Minnesota, by Honeywell. Literally tens of millions of masks are produced every year for industrial purposes, for construction. But the health experts say they can be used just as readily to protect healthcare workers from respiratory ailments. 3M and other companies were not able to sell those to hospitals, but the president negotiated with the Democratic leadership of the House and Senate. We've added a provision to the bill that will literally, from one company alone, add another 30 million masks per month back to the marketplace. We're strengthening the supply chain, and healthcare workers around America can be absolutely certain that the president and our entire team are going to continue to put the health of America first and put first our healthcare workers across this country that are meeting the needs of the people of our country.
Mr. Vice President, how many test kits have been sent out and how many people can actually be tested?
I think the Admiral can answer that. And you might want to talk about the roving also.
So thank you very much for that. As we talked about yesterday, we're really entering a new phase of testing. At first, we were at the initial phase where the CDC developed test was only available in public health laboratories in the CDC. Works very well for a few thousand tests per day after it gets running. We're now moving into a phase that the big commercial laboratories with high throughput screening have availability. So as we talked about last week, because of the historic efforts of the FDA, a Roche test, and as the president predicted, a Thermo Fisher test were both produced last week under an emergency use authorization. 1.9 million of those tests will be sequentially into the ecosystem this week. From the information we have right now, 1 million tests are available with all the reagents, everything ready to go, primarily at the reference labs called Quest, LabCorp, and a couple others. Now, it doesn't matter if they're not in your neighborhood, because every day when people get tests, a little white box goes out in front, it gets shipped by an incredible distribution system. The test result and it's electronically reported. So these are available to people nationwide. We expect more and more than 1 million coming on board this week as the reagents come up and as people with the testing capacity validate that in their own hospitals and other places. Validate that in the future, we expect at least 2 million next week and at least 5 million the week thereafter. There are also a whole growth of what's called laboratory determined testing or laboratory derived testing, where individual laboratories, because of the regulatory deregulation of the FDA, can develop their own tests and start using them. So if you're a CLIA certified lab with complexity, you can do that. So the point is, testing is now entering sort of what we normally do in the healthcare system, where big labs in a high throughput basis receive these through normal channels. So that part of it is really underway.
But do you know how many Americans have actually been tested? Do you have a number?
There is a number. I don't have that number because I've been working on setting up this distribution system. So this is where we are. The state and public health laboratories in the CDC are published every day on the CDC website.
A 12 or 13-year-old to purchase a gun and cheaper than it is for them to get a book.
I believe in the Second Amendment, it's there written on the paper.
If we fall for, a bunch of okey doke.
A few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia, not Al-Qaeda. You said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back.
So, Taylor, do we have Cape Gunworks now?
No, they haven't called in yet. No, we're doing that at
North
5:20.
Andover, Mass.
This is
5:20,
Luana
okay,
in Lexington,
5:20,
Massachusetts.
okay, great,
This is Lauren in Augusta, Maine, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
844-500-4242. Joe Biden's got this list of discards from the Obama administration, starting with Ezekiel Emanuel, Rahm Emanuel's brother. Rahm's the former mayor of Chicago, who said, never let a crisis go to waste. Zeke is an even more sinister figure. He's a physician, and he says basically life should end, or it is just as well ending at 75. That's what he says. He supports basically healthcare rationing. That's the guy. And he's also said that, if they only have a limited number of vaccines available, just not in this case in particular, but just generally speaking, only young people should get the vaccines. And he basically supports healthcare triage. And he's the advisor to Joe Biden. You would think Joe Biden wouldn't be into healthcare triage so much in a big way when you think about it. 844-500-4242. This is Joe Biden's live stream from Friday night. I don't know how many people saw this, but Joe kind of had a brain freeze again. He couldn't remember when he was going to take the office of President of the United States. Cut 14.
Being the public option, providing for the additional funding that would provide for no hidden bills, et cetera. And I can get it done. I can get it done quickly, and people will be covered. But even I can't do that for another a year between now and November, or actually January.
Or maybe October.
But to be covered.
April, somewhere in there. 844-500-4242. Cut 4.
No one is in a position where they have a significant financial disability as a consequence of this this particular crisis.
No, it's not SARS. Come on, Joe, get it straight. Cut 5.
So we should already be sitting down and planning where we're going to put these temporary hospitals. And we can do that. We did that. We've been through this before with the coronavirus. We've been through this before. We've been through this before with dealing with the viruses that the N1H15, as well as what happened in Africa.
844-500-4242. Uber.
Hey, Howie, during
Yes.
the live stream, did you hear Joe apologize for his gaffes?
No, I did not.
We'll have to play that cut on the other side.
Oh, you do? Okay. Excellent. Excellent. We'll be right back with Grace's News. I'm Howie Carr.
Hey guys, it's Grace. Howie is always giving me great advice. Never speak when you can nod. Always get the deposit money on empty cans. But the best advice he ever gave me was to call the car guys to get my first used car. I had tried to go to dealerships in the past, but just ended up feeling intimidated. But Bill Papa George from the Car Guys was the perfect solution. He got me the greatest car at the greatest price. Call the Car Guys today at 800-300-4600. I promise you won't be disappointed. That's 800-300-4600. Tell them Grace sent you.
Let me tell you about a new sponsor to the Howie Carr Show, Helping Hands of America. For over 2 decades, Helping Hands has made donating your car, truck, or boat to a New England charity incredibly easy. I've donated, and you should too. It takes one call. The pickup is not only fast, but it's free, and your donation is 100% tax deductible.
Simple questions for you, Mr. President.
Hold it before you. Okay.
I don't know if this is a question for you or for Dr. Burke, but Dr. Burke said that it is the millennials who are going to lead us through this, and that now is the time to look out for the older people in our home. Older might be a state of mind, not necessarily an age. So for those millennials of us who have parents who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, what is older? What should we tell them at this point?
Well, if I was Dr. Fauci, I would tell you there's a physiologic age,
and a numerical age. So older people with pre-existing conditions. And what do we mean by that? Significant heart disease, significant kidney disease, significant lung disease, any immunosuppression, any recent treatment for cancer, any of those pieces. And
to hide that bald spot, folks. I work harder. Doesn't look bad. Hey, we're hanging in. I should have saved the Pocahontas thing for another year because I've destroyed her political career and now I won't get a chance to run against her, and I would have loved it. I don't want to knock out all of the good stuff and end up with somebody that's actually got talent. That would be terrible.
He might not be flashy, but he's there when it counts. Here's 1 minute of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell.
For the first time in my memory, I agree with Nancy Pelosi. I am indeed the Grim Reaper when it comes to the socialist agenda that they've been ginning up over in the House.
You watch the fight, you watch the tactics, but here's what I want to tell you. In the very near future, Judge Kavanaugh will be on the United States Supreme Court.
Noted with great interest the Green New Deal, and we're going to be voting on that in the Senate. We'll give everybody an opportunity to go on record and see how they feel about the Green New Deal.
Well, first on the impartiality issue, do you think Chuck Schumer is impartial? Do you think Elizabeth Warren is impartial?
No.
Bernie Sanders is impartial? So let's quit the charade. This is a political exercise. Nobody is supposed to be guilty until proven innocent in the United States of America. Look, we're at an impasse. We can't do anything until the speaker sends the papers over. So everybody enjoy the holidays.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
John, what happened at Perfect Smiles when you went?
The initial consultation was easy. In the past, they just hand me a clipboard to fill out the forms, but that's not how I worked at Perfect Smiles. What was nice was it was a true consultation. They asked me my medical history or what I wanted to get out of the treatment plan. For me, I lived with TMJ. I'd literally have to crack my jaw throughout the day to relieve the pressure. I'd get headaches throughout the day. I'd be in pain. When I was at Perfect Smiles, they asked me what I wanted to get out of the treatment. As a joke, I just said, geez, I'd love you to be able to fix my TMJ. And I was surprised because Dr. Houghton specializes in working with patients like me that have TMJ.
What were the results of visiting Dr. Houghton at Perfect Smiles?
Not only did I walk out of that office with a perfect smile, but he fixed my TMJ. It was a life-changing event. People tell me now that my smile's amazing. People would say, geez, John, your teeth look so great. I never realized my teeth looked so bad before. Now I take a look at the before and after pictures and I'm amazed.
Go to Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire, or visit their website, perfectsmiles.com.
And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and, Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is... Your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
But being factually correct is important.
It's absolutely important.
And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all three chambers of Congress, all three chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
Here's Donald Trump Jr. proving once and for all the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
They hate Trump more than they love America. For them to try to take a pandemic and seemingly hope that it comes here and kills millions of people so that they could end Donald Trump's streak of winning. I don't know if this is coronavirus or Trump derangement syndrome, but these people are infected badly. To make this guy into a religious scholar, that's like saying Jeffrey Dahmer is a purveyor of organic and fine exotic meats. Adam Schiff is basically the Jussie Smollett of Congress, on steroids.
Children are off limits. Remember this one? If 13-year-old Barron Trump is not off limits, Hunter Biden sure as is not off limits.
Because my name is Trump, if I took $1.5 from China, not $1.5 billion like Hunter, their heads would explode.
Who's your favorite Democrat? Go ahead.
Mitt Romney, Gail. Mitt Romney's my favorite Democrat. How about that? Please, Lord, in my next life, make me a leftist so I can say anything and get away with it.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
This is the Howie Carr Show live from Chappaquiddick at the Party House. 25 years after Chappaquiddick 1969 on WHDH News Talk 850.
Another bad song from 1969. 742-0850. We're going to take some calls this segment if you want to get on board. If you have any questions for John Farrar, the scuba diver who saw Mary Jo Kopechne's body underwater. The number again, 742-0850. We're going to start talking about the incident and everyone's perceptions. John, let me just get this straight. So now, as far as your belief is that while Ted Kennedy was walking past all these houses back towards the Party House where we're broadcasting from now, Mary Jo was still alive.
That is correct.
And she would have been alive probably for about an hour, you think?
I think that's most reasonable, and if an hour, if not longer, that's correct.
If not, I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. You get a lot of patients, I'm sure, who are apprehensive about veneers. What are some of the questions and fears you get when you're dealing with new patients?
Some people think they could look too fake, but true cosmetic dentistry is incredibly detail-oriented. So we put a lot of time and effort into individualizing how the smile looks, and we really make them look natural, but very, very pleasant.
You know, people are concerned. They wonder, I got my teeth. Do I really want to put caps on?
Exactly. Yeah, they think they'll have that Hollywood look or fake look, but the technology that we have available and the artistry that we can create now really makes things so natural that most people, in fact, most dentists are just surprised that we can create what we can create nowadays. Everyone is different. Everyone has different facial dimensions, different bone structure, and we do everything we can to individualize treatment because there is no one perfect smile. It is your perfect smile.
Dr. Houghton, where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE, 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
Joe Biden might be running for president in 2020, so we should play some of his greatest hits.
Barack and I finally reduced the disparity in sentencing, which we've been fighting to eliminate. Crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. It was a big mistake when it was made. We were told by the experts that crack, you never go back.
You there, Taylor?
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
If you want to protect yourself, get a double barrel.
You talking to me, Howie?
Yeah. How the Zach sales going?
Almost halfway sold out.
Oh, good.
There were 200, so I mean, it's going to take a little longer.
Right. It's a little further out of the mainstream of the audience, but that's good. But that's good. That's really good.
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
The CNN Univision Democratic presidential debate with the two leading candidates, former Vice President Joe Biden and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Welcome. It's good to have you.
What? Huh? So? What? 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 So, well, did you? What?
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
What do you say to the American people who are confronting this new reality?
First of all, my heart goes out to those who have already lost someone.
To address the economic crisis as a result of Ebola, keep talking about Ebola. You got Ebola in my head here right now.
Excuse me, we've been through this before with dealing with the viruses that the N1H15, as well as what happened in Africa, because their islands are sinking.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way, like an improv conversation. Improvisation.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
We now have a situation where Trump's own people are actually in greater danger, but those of us who live in this earth can't even reach them.
Not the earth. Another earth.
Guess what? Coronavirus!
Unchained and unstoppable.
More people are dead and dying in America tonight because Donald Trump is president.
This is so dramatic. Maybe the president's trying to pressure Google to get it done faster, but there's no indication that game is working.
As you know, this is from Google. They put out a release, and you guys can figure it out yourselves and how that got out. And I'm sure you'll apologize, but it would be great if we could really give the news correctly. It would be so wonderful.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
Day, whatever it is, of America held hostage by a pandemic that more precisely resembles pandemonium. And the death toll is still infinitesimal. And yet the mainstream media continues to portray this. And again, I'm not saying that there shouldn't be emergency measures taken, but is it really necessary to go to the lengths that they're going? They continue to badger the president of the United States at his press conferences. They're still asking him questions about his test. He took the test. He passed, and now the alt-left media, some of them are contending that maybe he didn't pass the test. Even if he didn't pass the test, even if he tested positive, would that make it likely that he was going to die? All right, 844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number if you'd like to join us here on the Howie Carr Show. The Democrat debate took place last night. It wasn't really much of a debate. It was more like a little gathering it was like a Trump. It was like, excuse me, it was like a Biden campaign rally. There was nobody there.
So what? Huh? What?
Huh?
So?
What?
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 That was
well, did you?
What?
Bernie, that was a reprise of the Grumpy Old Men. So it was Bernie Sanders in the old Walter Matthau role, and Joe Biden, Sleepy Joe, Uncle Joe Biden, in the role of that Jack Lemmon portrayed in the old movie. And they weren't getting much done, were they? Grace, did you watch it last night?
No, I did not. I was not the one. I heard there was one person watching. It was not me.
It was me.
I watched Love is Blind on Netflix and McMillions on HBO. I've been binging all sorts of shows this weekend, but that spectacle was not something on my must-watch list.
They were very confused about it's a disease that's going to end the world, and Trump's not doing a very good job of handling it. And Joe Biden would handle it by going to the Situation Room. The Situation Room. He kept repeating that over and over again. The Situation Room. I think that's where they kept the tapioca pudding back in the days of the Obama administration. He kept wanting. We'd go to the Situation Room, and then he said that's where they would fight the N1H1 virus, which he also called SARS. And then Bernie corrected him and said it was really Ebola that they were fighting. They were very confused.
It was a very lame ending to these debates, especially when you consider that this is the last two men standing, and they're both rich, millionaire, corrupt, grumpy, old white men.
And in their own different ways, both are at least 3 bricks shy of a load.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. But Howie, I wanted to give some good news because I know it's tough out there for people. A lot of people aren't getting paid, and things are looking a little bleak. So I wanted to share some feel good stories that I've been finding. And the first one I want to start with, which I thought was beautiful. Everyone knows that Italy is taking this extremely hard. There's several reasons for that. A lot of their population is older and lives at home with younger people. So there's a bigger chance that this virus is going to spread. And so they're all quarantined for the most part. And it's probably gets very depressing. And so an Italian tenor, Maurizio Marchini was serenading all of the coronavirus-stricken people in Florence from his balcony, and it was so beautiful. And I saw this video online, and I thought, this is what we need more of in the news. Instead of this fear-mongering, we need some to show you what people do in times of stress. So Taylor, play some opera for us. Very, very cool. Nice to see. Music always makes people feel better.
He sounds great. I prefer the dulcet tones of Enrico Palazzo.
I mean, to me, I'm just, I'm just a girl from Boston, Howie. It sounds pretty good to me.
That joke was for a very select portion of our audience.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I'm told that another reason that that Italy has a problem is there's a huge trade between China, especially Wuhan province and Lombardy in Italy.
I have heard that as well.
That is where they got pasta from, right?
I think this is a little more recent than Marco Polo days, but they do have this trade. And again, Justin Trudeau said it was a knee-jerk reaction to close borders, and Joe Biden said it was xenophobic, and now Joe Biden says this is like a foreign attack. Last night, that's what he said, and today, Justin Trudeau has closed Canadian borders. So I guess he's, in addition to being the blackface Prime Minister of Canada, he's now the knee-jerk Prime Minister
Howie,
of Canada.
You're killing my good news segment here. You're bringing us down. And I'm going to bring us back up because there was something else cool this weekend that President Trump tweeted. The Italian Air Force put on an uplifting display. I love stuff like this. I think it is, no matter what country you're from, it just raises the spirits of everyone. It was a really cool performance, which the Air Force reportedly does on a regular basis. A set of jet fighters, they were awesome. Use colored smoke to paint the Italian flag while stirring rendition of, I think the last song we just played was playing in the background. That was really cool. President Trump retweeted it. A lot of people retweeted it. And then a little news from here that I thought was very moving is amid the NBA coronavirus shutdown, Zion Williamson, I think he was the player from Duke who now plays for the Pelicans. He has decided to pay the wages of all the Smoothie King Center arena workers for a span of 30 days. Now, this guy just made a ton of money. I think he signed a sneaker deal for like $100 million. But still, he's 19. He's very new, Howie. And for him to do that, I think is awesome. He's paying for everybody who works there. He said they do an awesome job. They always make the fans happy. And he said the people are dealing with long-term challenges created by Katrina, and now they are facing more long-term challenges. So he's just hoping that he can help out in any way he can. So that was just a couple of good news stories to boost people's spirits for the day, especially if you're working from home and you're stuck in there with your spouse and things are getting kind of...
We have another math lesson from the Democrats today, Grace. Did you see this one? Bernie's press secretary?
No, I didn't.
Her name is, what is it? Brianna Joy Gray. She's the press secretary for Bernie's campaign. It's great everyone is coming together around this crisis, she tweeted out. But people are in crisis every day. 500 million Americans go bankrupt from medical debt every year.
Oh,
500 million.
Well, first of all, obviously the math is Brian Williams status, but I also just want to say, it's okay to handle one thing at a time. We don't need to compare everything to other things. This is like when someone, if something bad happens to you, you break your arm and someone says, well, so-and-so has cancer. We don't have to constantly be comparing things to one another. Right now, coronavirus is affecting a lot of people's daily lives, and that's okay. That's okay for us to talk about.
You know what her correction was, though? She said, I was confusing it. My boss has repeatedly said that 500,000 Americans go bankrupt this year from medical bills, which is also a lie, by the way. Even the Washington Post, an organ of the Democrat Party, gave Bernie 3 Pinocchios for saying that 500,000 Americans go broke every year. So she just increased it by 1,000 times over.
Yeah, that's nothing. That's nothing.
500
That's
million.
chump
It's not
change.
that many anyway. As Joe Biden says, there's still 720 million women in the workplace, and 150 million get killed by guns since 2007. So what's 500 million people going into bankruptcy? I noticed that there seems to be. I go by the bankruptcy court in Boston some days, and I noticed that there seem to be people queuing up outside. I guess I know the reason why now.
Howie, I want to ask you when we get back on the other side, there's been an interesting case here where Corona was passed. A passenger was flying from New York to Florida, from JFK to Florida. And he knew he had Corona. His wife, I think, knew he had Corona. And they got on the plane anyway, and they probably infected a bunch of people because it's very contagious. And when we get back on the other side, we're going to discuss what should be the punishment for people whose recklessness is making us all stay home. That's the question on the other side.
All right. We'll be right back. I'm Howie Carr.
The paper boy with a big microphone. Howie Carr.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by J.T. Kelly, real estate broker of Keller Williams, serving Greater Boston. Do what my daughter Carolyn did and give J.T. Kelly a call at 1-800-364-9200. 1-800-364-9200. If you haven't called New England Center for Hair Restoration for your $6,000 hair restoration, you better call today because there is only one more day left to take advantage of this unbelievable deal. Over 50 of my listeners have already booked their free consultation. There are only 10 slots left to save $3,500. Don't get left out. This will absolutely end tomorrow. Get your hair transplant for just $6,000. I know there are still some of my listeners out there that could use a great hair restoration at an unbeatable price. You know who you are. What are you waiting for? The price to go back up? Save $3,500 for qualifying patients. You cannot afford not to do this, so don't wait. Remember, this unbelievable price for a hair restoration ends tomorrow. For those who qualify, third-party financing is available with monthly payments as low as $119. Call 800-313-HAIR for your free consultation. That's 800-313-HAIR. Call 800-313-HAIR or visit 6khair.com. 6khair.com.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
We went to the White House for the Christmas party. In your opinion, what was the highlight?
The highlight of my trip to the White House with Grace, there were two. Number one, when we walked into Trump International Hotel, which she'd been dreaming of going to, and her eyes were wide. And then when the president actually came down the stairs, her eyes were even wider. She was so in awe of being there. I really felt like King Farouk, I felt like I was giving someone a really great gift that they couldn't get otherwise.
You've had some really good interviews over the years. Which one was your favorite?
I can't really say what the best interview I ever had, but one that just occurred to me was Jesse Helms, the senator from North Carolina. I interviewed him one time, and he went to high school with my mother in Monroe, North Carolina. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Howie, I know your mother before you knew your mother."
The Subaru of New England, Washington's birthday sale that lasts all month long. Feel the freedom in the all-new, all-wheel drive 2020 Subaru Outback with standard LED headlights. Starting at only $26,645 with 0.9% financing for up to 48 months. Or lease for only $249 per month for 36 months with $2449 due at signing. Details at SubaruofNewEngland.com.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Is Kennedy Babylon 2 your last book?
No, if I think of another topic for a book I want to write, I'll go for it. But I think it's the last of my Kennedy Babylon series. I made Kennedy Babylon 2 kind of long because I wanted to get everything in there. Now there's other stuff I could write about, but I'm Kennedy now.
Since having the sleeve operation, do you miss not eating big meals?
No, I don't. I can still eat what I used to eat. I just can't eat as much. I'm now very surprised how much I used to eat. I'm surprised at how much people I eat with consume. It's just hard to believe that I used to eat that much. But no, it's not a problem.
How is Mr. Gooner since Pearl's passing?
Mr. Gooner is drowning his sorrows in food.
What is the most trouble you ever got into as a kid?
My father was giving me grief one time up at Moosehead Lake in Maine, and I threw a rock at him. he didn't much like that.
This is Lynn in sunny Las Vegas.
This is Dan from the moonbat capital of Jamaica Plain.
This is Gigi in Leominster, Massachusetts, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
Today's poll question is brought to you by the all-new 2020 Subaru Outback, featuring symmetrical all-wheel drive. Go where love takes you. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Will the White House impose a quote-unquote national curfew by the end of the week?
Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas just came out for that. And CNN was spreading fake news that it was being discussed. Vice President Pence's office hit back and said that was fake news. I'm going to say no, they're not going to.
68% say no.
I just had McKay down here with me in Florida to take a picture of the Boston Globe chart on the number of the corona toll in the state of Massachusetts, and I'm gonna have Grace tweet it out. Coronavirus totals in Massachusetts. I'm looking at the chart right now. We're getting updates by the moment. Confirmed cases 164. Total deaths, 0.
That's good. We want to keep it that way.
But the state is shut down, or is getting to the point of being shut down, it seems like. Now they're stopping construction projects.
Howie, I know what you're saying, but I don't know what you want them to do. Like, if they keep it open and then all of a sudden people do start dying, you're going to be the first one saying, bunch of idiots, what were they thinking?
We're going to have to talk about how they handled swine flu 10 years ago and how the media, which is now hectoring the president of the United States and, still badgering him about bills that aren't even through both houses of Congress, let alone through one house, let alone two. They're still hassling him. They were saluting Obama for not declaring an emergency and playing golf when swine flu was killing 12,000 Americans, as opposed to 50 Americans are dead so far. All right, Grace, what do you got?
Coronavirus person with it went from JFK to Florida,
to West
actually,
Palm.
Howie. West Palm. And now they're saying that the people on the plane think that he got his test results right before he got on the plane and he knew about it. These kind of stories are coming up a lot because I guess when this originated in China, there was one patient who really went everywhere after he got it and really ended up increasing the amount of people who had it tenfold. And so they're saying that people who do this kind of stuff are just reckless and they're getting everyone else sick. And I just want to know, Howie, what's your take? If you found out that someone on a plane had coronavirus, knew they had it, and then now you have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Well, I would be angry, obviously, but I'm not sure what law they violated. I mean, what would you prosecute them under?
Is there a law against being a total jerk?
Now, if there would, all the people that were waiting for John Durham to indict in the summer, they would already be behind bars.
Well, I can tell you one thing that's happening to him. JetBlue has officially banned this passenger for ever flying JetBlue for the rest of his life. And if you've flown other things beside JetBlue, you know that JetBlue's pretty much the better of the airlines. So I hesitate to say best.
This always happens when in the early stages of an epidemic. Wasn't there somebody in the AIDS epidemic? They wrote books about him. You know, he infected all these people, and then there was somebody called Typhoid Mary back in the 19th century that was just going around from place to place, starting these, causing outbreaks of typhoid. You know, this always happens.
There was another thing, too, where a flight was delayed 8 hours because someone made a joke that they had coronavirus. And I'm just thinking to myself, we have to make a law that if you're a jerk, you get thrown in jail. There's so many losers out there who are ruining our daily existence.
Well, you would think people would know because people have gotten into trouble or at least been arrested. I don't know if they've gone to jail for making jokes about bombs on airplanes. I mean,
yeah, it's like crying wolf in a theater.
That's as Speaker Pelosi would say. That's for sure.
Yeah. Howie, so the Boston Herald had an interesting column. I don't know if you read this one about couples being forced to stay together in their houses because of coronavirus. And they're saying that this is either going to lead to a huge baby boom because people are stuck inside all day, or it's going to lead to a spike in divorces, husbands and wives.
I did read that, and I thought, couldn't it lead to both?
It could definitely lead to both. They're going to have the baby, even though they're separated.
Right.
I mean, this is just... I can understand when you're stuck in a small little house and you've got the kids running around. People are getting on each other's nerves out there. And you can't go out to eat. And you can't have your girls' nights. It's not looking good. And also, Howie, sad news, Elliot Spitzer and his fiance, Roxana Gironde, canceled their big NYC wedding over coronavirus.
Oh, no. Client number 9 is not going to have a fancy society wedding now. That's a shame. All right.
This was the news.
Tweet out the coronavirus toll statistics for me, would you, Grace?
I absolutely will, Captain.
Total deaths in Massachusetts, 0. I'm Howie Carr.
As the 2020 presidential campaigns heat up, there's plenty of talk about what's best for the country. The question is, at what cost and who will be impacted by any of the proposed ideas? If you're near retirement, you need to make sure your portfolio is ready for whatever happens. Call Kevin Frisbee at Frisbee & Associates for a no-cost, no-obligation analysis of your current plan. Call 800-989-9100. Kevin and his team will stress test your portfolio to discover any hidden fees. They can help develop a solid income plan that will make sure you never run out of money, despite what the politicians might have in mind. What about Social Security? When to claim is a huge decision. Kevin is there to create a plan that gives you options to maximize your benefits. Schedule your free consultation now. 800-989-9100. And catch Kevin on the Howie Carr radio program every Thursday afternoon as he reviews the market. 800-989-9100. 800-989-9100.
Biden might be the frontrunner for the Democrats, but that isn't stopping him from serving up a whole lot of gaffes. Take a listen.
I believe that the president is literally an existential threat to America for 3 reasons. One, he is a genuine threat to our... I had permission to hug Lonnie. He says, let's make America great again. Let's make America America again. I think I'm either low IQ or slow, or I don't know what I am. Slow Joe Biden. Thanks for the Mary, and I'm going to be here a lot. I want the press to know she pulled me close. I just want you to know, okay? President Trump inherited an economy from Obama Biden. By the way, he gave me permission to touch it. They can't even figure out how to deal with the fact that they have this great division between the China Sea and the mountains in the in the West.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally met rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no-obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Did you have any pets when you were younger?
I had a cat named Dexter. That was my first pet. And then I had possession of 2 poodles when I lived in Palm Beach, Princess and Frisky. They weren't really my dogs, but I took care of them. They lived with me. So they were my dogs. I love those poodles.
When you were a kid, what was the best gift you ever received?
I got this wooden fort from FAO Schwartz in Palm Beach, about the age of 6 or 7, 10 soldiers to go along with it. Such a cool fort. I had that fort for like maybe close to 10 years.
What is your all-time favorite movie?
Probably Goodfellas. I love Goodfellas. I love it even more than The Godfather.
What is your favorite dessert?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably chocolate ice cream, followed by vanilla ice cream, followed by coffee ice cream.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Did you have any pets when you were younger?
I had a cat named Dexter. That was my first pet. And then I had possession of 2 poodles when I lived in Palm Beach, Princess and Frisky. They weren't really my dogs, but I took care of them. They lived with me. So they were my dogs. I love those poodles.
When you were a kid, what was the best gift you ever received?
I got this wooden fort from FAO Schwartz in Palm Beach, about the age of 6 or 7, 10 soldiers to go along with it. Such a cool fort. I had that fort for like maybe close to 10 years.
What is your all-time favorite movie?
Probably Goodfellas. I love Goodfellas. I love it even more than The Godfather.
What is your favorite dessert?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably chocolate ice cream, followed by vanilla ice cream, followed by coffee ice cream.
Live
is Joe
from the
there?
Matthews Brothers Studios.
844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. If you'd like to join us. Is Joe here? Is Joe with us? Or not?
No, we'll get him.
Okay, 844-500-4242. That is the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. We're going to get Joe DeGeneva, the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia, to discuss the deep state shenanigans. The pandemic may slow down other aspects of American life, but the conspiracy continues, and there is new information today to get to. In the meantime, let's play the mashup of Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders last night, confusing the name of coronavirus during the CNN debate. The mashup.
We've been through this before with the coronavirus. We've been through this before. We've been through this before with dealing with the viruses that the N1H15, as well as what happened in Africa.
The Ebola crisis, in my view, exposes the dysfunctionality of our healthcare system. And the Ebola crisis is also, I think, exposing the cruelty and the unjustness of our economy today.
No one is in a position where they have a significant financial disability as a consequence of this SARS, of this particular crisis.
We have got to move aggressively right now to address the economic crisis as a result of Ebola. Keep talking about Ebola. You got Ebola in my head here right now.
Joe DeGeneva, doesn't that give you a lot of confidence in the 2 leading Democrat contenders for president? They don't even know the name of the problem.
I have to tell you, I watched that. I mean, just all I could think was, a game for old men. I mean, just awful, just absolutely pathetic. And then you watch Trump today at that coronavirus news conference, which was a tour de force. He's in total control. And you watch these 2 clowns. You got this aging communist, who's looking for a way to featherbed his next annuity from the federal government.
What a great way to put it.
And Joe Biden, who's trying to figure out another way to have his family steal another $1 billion from foreign countries. What an incredibly pathetic display.
Right.
And what dumb questions from CNN.
I know. They wouldn't even ask him about lying about being arrested with Nelson Mandela. This was the first debate since he was busted by the New York Times, of all people. And they still wouldn't ask him about it.
Dead.
And then Trump is getting
journalism is dead. Listen, this is like, I remember when I was young, Chet Huntley and David Brinkley, these serious people sitting at their microphones delivering news, and you watch these idiots at CNN. It was so embarrassing. They had poor Dana Bash, she's like the abused housewife. You got Jake Tapper, who's a fake former Democratic staffer, and then the Latina, who is, it was almost like watching a Lenny Bruce routine.
Well, listen, I got to ask you about what's going on here now. Donald Trump tweeted out over the weekend that he was seriously thinking of pardoning General Flynn. I always assumed that he would be pardoned eventually, but now it appears the president was talking about how the FBI is claiming they have misplaced the initial 302s, the reports. But I can't find that in the news anywhere. Where is that? Where is that in a public document anywhere, or is that just being rumored?
No, it is in a filing by Sidney Powell, who is General Flynn's new lawyer, who has moved to have the charges against him dismissed for ineffective assistance of counsel. And that is because the government is refusing to produce documents concerning the original 302, which is the FBI interview form. They do not have those, according to Sidney Powell. Now, it is, of course, axiomatic that the FBI retains everything. They are anal retentive. And so the fact that they do not have these fundamental documents is a sign that something is rotten in Denmark. And I don't mean coronavirus. And so what we have is an example. The president is way ahead of this. He's already made up his mind. He's going to pardon General Flynn. There's nothing new about it. There's nothing surprising. What he's doing is he's trolling. He's setting the table. He's making it clear so that the judge and the rest of the world and the media, he's making it very clear. When this happens, don't tell me you're surprised. And there's a reason for this. And I speak with authority. Let me just say this for the record. I speak with authority. The president, to a moral certainty, knows that they framed Flynn to frame him.
Right.
To a moral certainty, the president knows that, and he believes that. And he's going to pardon Flynn. Michael Flynn has been the most abused citizen since Jean Valjean was pursued by Javert. I mean, this is sickness, and that's where we are, and the president knows it, and I don't care when he does it, but he's going to do it, and God bless him for doing it.
So what about the fact that Fox News is reporting that the Durham probe is going to be completed either by April or July, and now they're saying that the coronavirus thing may be slowing it down a little bit. Can you speak with any certainty or clarity about how it's going to end? I mean, are we going to see some of the people that have really been acting in an obnoxious fashion, shall we say, on other cable news channels, dragged away like Roger Stone was dragged away from his house down here in South Florida?
Well, I think it's probably true that will not happen. There will be none of those horrendous, improper, unethical exercises of prosecutorial and investigative authority by Mueller and Andrew Weissman, which were a disgrace to federal law enforcement and were an embarrassment to anybody like me who has ever been a United States attorney. I never did that to anybody. And let me just tell you something. The disgusting treatment of Roger Stone and Paul Manafort and others will be a black mark on federal law enforcement for the next century. They will not be able to recover from this because they have a moron running the FBI right now, Chris Wray. But that aside, that is now a settled fact that we do not have a head of the FBI. We have a backside of the FBI. I actually don't know where Durham is. And if I did, I'd be happy to tell you that. That's a good sign because there haven't been any leaks from his people.
Right.
My guess is he's going to bring some indictments, and I'll tell you why. If he does not, let me underscore that. If he does not, Attorney General Barr is going to have a problem of such magnitude that he may not be able to manage it, even with his brilliant legal and political skills. This is a moment in history where we have to end the double system of justice in America. If there are no indictments, there will be no FISA extension, and there will be no recourse except some pretty ugly stuff during the next campaign. So I am praying, I'm hopeful. I trust John Durham and I trust Bill Barr. What I just said about Bill Barr is not a criticism of him. It's a criticism of where we are as a country. The Democrats destroyed federal law enforcement in 2016. Make no mistake about it. Don't hear all these clownish comments from Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin and Patrick Leahy about how much they love the FBI and the CIA. No, they don't love those people. They love using those people. And what we have seen is one of the most disgraceful periods in American history. And if there are no indictments of anybody in the Obama DOJ, FBI, CIA, and DOJ, we are going to have a period of darkness in federal law enforcement where people will not believe them, they will not trust them, and they will not talk to them.
I already am in that position. I think you are too, aren't you, Joe?
Sure I am. And I'll tell you what, I love these guys. I love these men and women in the FBI and in the CIA. I've done cases with all of them around the world, in my city, Washington, D.C. And when I see what Comey did, what Loretta Lynch did, what Sally Yates did, what Rod Rosenstein did, what McCabe did, they destroyed institutions that this country depends on for relief from crime. It is despicable. And people complain about this president, tweeting about them. Yeah. This president was set upon by a bunch of thugs in federal law enforcement. He has every right to be mad and angry and to flail.
I just got a text from an FBI G-man, as he calls himself. The 302 would have had to been deleted out of our electronic case management system. This takes many levels of approval and is a deliberate process. It couldn't have been done by quote unquote accident. So,
he's absolutely right.
Why is it?
Why doesn't Powell says in her brief?
How can Ray? I mean, even if he just is a CYA guy and he's a horse's ass, as you just described him. I mean, how can he allow this to go on? This is insubordination. Forget the president. It's insubordination against him. They tried this already with the struck page texts, right? 50,000 of them. We can't find them. We can't find them. Guess what? The inspector general could find them, and it didn't take him very long, did it?
It did not, and that is when you have a non-leader, someone who is not a leader, like Christopher Wray. Just remember, when every time you think of him, what you think of is a passive person, someone who is simply standing there, letting the parade pass him by. This is a time for leadership. We always hear that from our scribes and our political scholars, a time for leadership. The Bureau is in free fall. The FBI is in free fall. It is in free fall because there is a moron heading the FBI. His selection, his recommendation by Chris Christie, the governor, is one of the most ridiculous, dumb suggestions. And the Trump personnel structure that thought that Chris Wray would be a good FBI director, those people should be crucified.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, what about does Hillary Clinton have any chance of prevailing? She's appealing now this decision by a district court judge.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, Obama. Let's remember where we are. We're in the D.C. circuit. There was a 2-1 decision by a panel. It now goes to the full circuit. And remember, before he left office, Obama got Harry Reid to change the filibuster rule so they could pack the court in D.C. and they remember they changed the filibuster rule for circuit court judges, but not the Supreme Court. And then they packed the D.C. circuit with 5 or 6 appointees and switched it from conservative to liberal. She will win in the circuit court, and then probably the Supreme Court will not take the case.
So she won't have to testify under oath.
If I were a betting person, which I am, sitting here on the Great Rawls Creek in St. Michael's, Maryland, having an old fashioned, I would say yes.
Oh, that's unfortunate news, but I appreciate your candor anyway. Joe DeGenova, thanks for being with us, and stay safe in this pandemic of SARS, Ebola, H1, N1, N1, H1, whatever the Democrat nominees are calling it this hour. Thank you.
Adios.
Bye-bye. Have you had enough of the volatility of the stock market yet? Down 1,000 or more points one day. Today, 2,300 it was down. Up the next. Are you sick of watching that little box at the bottom of your TV screen that shows the market plunging hundreds, if not thousands of points? You need to get diversified with Orion Metal Exchange. You shouldn't be caught flat-footed on this roller coaster ride that the stock markets are on. No matter what the reason, the coronavirus or the oil price war abroad or just general hysteria, you always need to be diversified. And that means owning some precious metals, gold and silver. Listen up. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company that I trust. If you haven't yet taken advantage of their no-obligation guide, it's still not too late. Give them a call today to learn more about gold and silver. Call Orion today at 1-800-912-2300. That's 1-800-912-2300. Call them now, 1-800-912-2300. I'm Howie Carr.
A nightmare to liberals everywhere. He's Howie Carr.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by The Still Bar and Grill in Agawam. The Still Bar and Grill has live music Wednesday through Sunday weekly. Stop by The Still Bar and Grill today in Agawam.
There are plenty of differences between Trump and the Democrats running for 2020, but the main one is Trump's pretty funny. Take a listen.
What advice would you give to the 25-year-old Donald Trump knowing what you know today?
Don't run for president.
I'm not a drinker. I can honestly say I never had a beer in my life, okay? It's one of my only good traits. I don't drink. Whenever they're looking for something good, I say, never had a glass of alcohol. I've never had alcohol. Can you imagine if I had? What a mess I'd be. I'd be the world's worst. Other countries, big countries, India and others, we had to pay because they considered them a growing country. They were a growing country. I said, what are we? Are we allowed to grow too? Okay. So are we allowed to grow? I try like hell to hide that bald spot, folks. I work harder. Doesn't look bad. Hey, we're hanging in. I should have saved the Pocahontas thing for another year because I've destroyed her political career and now I won't get a chance to run against her, and I would have loved it. I don't want to knock out all of the good stuff and end up with somebody that's actually got talent. That would be terrible.
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dr. Houghton, tell us about the state-of-the-art procedures that can help many people look 10 to 15 years younger.
As we age, we do lose these proper proportions to our faces. And so if you're deficient in your chin or mid-face, we can create the proper proportions and make you look great. Sometimes we use orthodontics to change the look of the face. Sometimes we just use the teeth themselves and it creates the right support for a beautiful face. They're all non-surgical procedures.
There's some pretty complex cases that you deal with. Give me an example of a tough case.
Well, some cases people just are missing a lot of teeth. I get a lot of people that come in and think that I cannot solve their problems because they're too great, but I really can. We've been doing this for over 35 years and there isn't much that we haven't seen.
So even if you're missing a few teeth or your teeth are discolored or you're very embarrassed, there's no reason not to come in for a consultation, right?
Absolutely. New techniques, new technology, things are available to us that we never had before, and we can handle just about everything.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
So now you've broken your elbow. Have you ever broken any other bones?
When I was 8 years old, I broke my leg. I was playing touch football in Portland, and a big kid, a 15-year-old, tackled me. When I was in my 30s, I was going down the stairs, and one of the kids' toys was on the stairs, and I tripped on it and broke my foot. I lost a tooth playing touch football when I was just out of Deerfield. I got smacked in the jaw. My tooth went up, and I still have a bridge, a crown from that mishap. I have a replacement hip, and now I have a bunch of pins in my left elbow.
When do you plan to retire?
I don't plan on retiring. As an old football coach once said, once you retire, there's only one big moment left. You know what that is.
This is Jay in Hingham, Massachusetts.
This is Gloria from Haverhill, Mass.
Hi, this is Joe from Howie in the Hills, Florida, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
844-500-4242. You know, people are very concerned, obviously, about the coronavirus and whether they'll be safe. The death toll is still negligible. It's we don't want anybody dead, but it's not very many people are dead. The death toll in many states is zero. Half of the deaths in the United States occurred at one nursing home in Kirkland, Washington, I believe, or maybe more than half. But anyway, a member of the squad, Ayanna Pressley from Dorchester, Massachusetts, a freshman member of Congress, she has a solution for the problem. She wants to open up the prison doors. This is what they tried this in Iran. I think they let out 70,000 prisoners. That would really increase the everyone's feeling of safety if they were somehow to decide to just let everybody out of prison. But that's I guess she doesn't want to let everybody out of prison. Just the members of the right political classes would be let out of prison. Cut 20.
You know, what is the guidance, both for those that are incarcerated and for staff, and that the BOP use their full powers? I think now would be the time to commute some sentences, to exact clemency, and to take care of our most vulnerable. 10% of those that are incarcerated are over the age of 60 and already have an underlying condition. We should be using compassionate release.
Compassionate release. I'm sure Ayanna would be glad to decide who deserves compassionate release and who doesn't. And incidentally, Congresswoman, I don't believe the Bureau of Prisons can commute sentences. I believe that's up to the President of the United States. You know, and you like him so much, don't you? Al, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Al.
Okay, well, Howie, very, very pleased to be able to get on the air with you. I want to talk to you about an island that I own property on, and my family has owned property there since the original King's Grant from England.
Yes.
And they have now closed the island if you're not a resident of the island.
Really?
What do you do if you've been paying the damn taxes for all these years? I have a cousin that pays $10,000 a year and is not able to go onto the island.
I thought you were going to tell me that it was. I thought you were going to tell me, Al, that it was Noshawn Island, ancestral home of the Forbes family, which John Kerry is a member of. What state is this island in?
It's off the coast of Rockland in Maine, and I used to work on the ferry that runs to the island. And I have a cousin whose wife is a resident of Florida here with me, and he is a resident of the state of Maine, so he can lobster. And she cannot go back to the island with Peter because she's not a resident.
Really? The ferry won't allow. Is the ferry just shut down?
They will not allow a non-resident to come on board the ferry.
Wow. Well, did you? I can't. I don't know the answer to the problem of your friend, but did you hear Joe Biden last night talking about what's happening to some islands? At least this island in Maine may not be having the same problems that Joe Biden was talking about last night. Listen to this. Cut 6.
Because as populations have to move because they can no longer live where they are because their islands are sinking.
Your island's not sinking, is it, Al?
No, I do know there was a congressman from the Democratic Party that thought that Guam should have some solution made because so many people lived on one end of the island.
It was going to tip over. That was Hank Johnson from Georgia. He's probably going to be in Biden's cabinet if he is elected, I guess. Thanks for the call, Al. I'm Howie Carr.
There's an old saying in politics, if you can't dazzle them with brilliance, baffle them with bull. Well, we here at Matthews Brothers never really agreed with that practice. No, sir. We've always held to the belief that people are generally smart enough to tell the difference between chicken gumbo and chicken guano. So when it comes to important stuff like structural and thermal performance of our windows and doors, we just stick to the facts. Sadly, even the remodeling industry has its share of those who hide behind hyperbole, provide mis- and disinformation, or lurch from one confusing sale of the month to another so often you have to wonder if they even have a regular selling price. But thanks to good old Al Gore and his invention of the internet, it's now possible for the average consumer, from the comfort of their own living room, to search for windows and doors that are structurally superior, or thermally superior, or aesthetically superior, or backed by the industry's best warranty. Or they can see them all in person, but only at Better Lumberyards and Window Professionals, or on the web at MatthewsBrothers.com. Matthews Brothers with one T, America's oldest window manufacturer.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
We went to the White House for the Christmas party. In your opinion, what was the highlight?
The highlight of my trip to the White House with Grace, there were two. Number one, when we walked into Trump International Hotel, which she'd been dreaming of going to, and her eyes were wide. And then when the president actually came down the stairs, her eyes were even wider. She was so in awe of being there. I really felt like King Farouk, you know? I felt like I was giving someone a really great gift that they couldn't get otherwise.
You've had some really good interviews over the years. Which one was your favorite?
I can't really say what the best interview I ever had, but one that just occurred to me was Jesse Helms, the senator from North Carolina. I interviewed him one time, and he went to high school with my mother in Monroe, North Carolina. And the first words out of his mouth were, "Howie, I know your mother before you knew your mother." And now, some of my favorite fake Indian cuts of all time.
I'm not going to ask you for your favorite curse word. Actually, I am. Do you have a favorite curse word?
Poop.
Poop? Oh, that's a goody two-shoes favorite curse word if I ever heard one.
Are you kidding? Have you ever seen a woman like me look you straight in the face after you finished some long explanation of something and then just said, poop?
Hold on a sec. I'm going to get me a beer.
I am not sure what she's talking about as far as a rally with.
It was a rally in Bern, Oregon, is that you have to figure out who you are. I grew up in a family that was barely hanging on to the ragged edge of the middle class. And my Aunt B has walked by that picture at least 1,000 times, remarked that her father, my papa, had high cheekbones like all of the Indians did.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
John, what happened at Perfect Smiles when you went?
The initial consultation was easy. In the past, they just hand me a clipboard to fill out the forms, but that's not how I worked at Perfect Smiles. What was nice was it was a true consultation. They asked me my medical history or what I wanted to get out of the treatment plan. For me, I lived with TMJ. I'd literally have to crack my jaw throughout the day to relieve the pressure. I'd get headaches throughout the day. I'd be in pain. When I was at Perfect Smiles, they asked me what I wanted to get out of the treatment. You know, as a joke, I just said, geez, I'd love you to be able to fix my TMJ. And I was surprised because Dr. Houghton specializes in working with patients like me that have TMJ.
What were the results of visiting Dr. Houghton at Perfect Smiles?
Not only did I walk out of that office with a perfect smile, but he fixed my TMJ. It was a life-changing event. People tell me now that my smile's amazing. People would say, geez, John, your teeth look so great. I never realized my teeth looked so bad before. Now I take a look at the before and after pictures and I'm amazed.
Go to Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire, or visit their website, perfectsmiles.com.
He's the gaffe that keeps on giving. Here's 1 minute of former Vice President Joe Biden.
Your teachers who touch them, figuratively speaking, well, I hope you touch them and tell them how much you love them too. But my point is, when you touch their hearts.
I get in trouble with some things I say, but I want to tell you, just be straight up. If I'm your president, with me, it starts here in my gut, goes to my heart, and then I articulate it.
And by the way, you know, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. 1.2 billion. So you go ahead and you stack spaghetti sauce at a store in a supermarket. You control the guy or the woman who brings out the carts on a forklift. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap, and I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
Jim Acosta, without a doubt, wins the competition for Trump's least favorite journalist of all time. Let's listen to some of their feistier moments.
I'll tell you what, CNN should be ashamed of itself having you working for them. You are a rude, terrible person. You shouldn't be working for CNN. Should I let him have a little bit more? What do you think, Peter? Peter, should I let him have a little bit more? Sit down. I'm changing it from fake news, though.
Doesn't that undermine?
Very fake news.
I know, but aren't you?
When I raise money, excuse me, I've watched you on television. You're a real beauty. Honestly, I think you should let me run the country. You run CNN.
All right.
And if you did it well, your ratings would be much better.
If I may ask one other question, Mr. President, if I may ask one other question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's enough.
Mr. President, what do you say to your critics who say that you're concocting a national emergency here in order to get your wall because you couldn't get it through other ways?
What do you think? You think I'm creating something? Ask these incredible women who lost their daughters and their sons, because your question is a very political question, because you have an agenda. You're CNN. You're fake news.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show. And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
So now you've broken your elbow. Have you ever broken any other bones?
When I was 8 years old, I broke my leg. I was playing touch football in Portland, and a big kid, a 15-year-old, tackled me. When I was in my 30s, I was going down the stairs, and one of the kids' toys was on the stairs, and I tripped on it and broke my foot. I lost a tooth playing touch football when I was just out of Deerfield. I got smacked in the jaw. My tooth went up, and I still have a bridge, a crown from that mishap. I have a replacement hip, and now I have a bunch of pins in my left elbow.
When do you plan to retire?
I don't plan on retiring. As an old football coach once said, once you retire, there's only one big moment left. You know what that is. I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. You get a lot of patients, I'm sure, who are apprehensive about veneers. What are some of the questions and fears you get when you're dealing with new patients?
Some people think they could look too fake, but true cosmetic dentistry is incredibly detail-oriented. So we put a lot of time and effort into individualizing how the smile looks, and we really make them look natural, but very, very pleasant.
You know, people are concerned. They wonder, I got my teeth. Do I really want to put caps on?
Exactly. Yeah, they think they'll have that Hollywood look or fake look, but the technology that we have available and the artistry that we can create now really makes things so natural that most people, in fact, most dentists are just surprised that we can create what we can create nowadays. Everyone is different. Everyone has different facial dimensions, different bone structure, and we do everything we can to individualize treatment because there is no one perfect smile. It is your perfect smile.
Dr. Houghton, where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE, 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
I both had steady girlfriends, or we were married or whatever. And BB was always saying that we were whipped. You know what I mean? Finally, I said, you don't even have a girlfriend. I've never seen you with a female. As a matter of fact, I don't think you have ever had sex. You are just a virgin boy.
What is your biggest fear?
That Donald Trump will not be reelected in 2020 and that some horrible Democrat will come in and finish off the destruction of this once great country.
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
The CNN Univision Democratic presidential debate with the two leading candidates, former Vice President Joe Biden and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Welcome. It's good to have you.
What?
Huh?
So?
What?
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 So, well, did you?
What?
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
What do you say to the American people who are confronting this new reality?
First of all, my heart goes out to those who have already lost someone.
To address the economic crisis as a result of Ebola, keep talking about Ebola. You got Ebola in my head here right now.
Excuse me, we've been through this before with dealing with the viruses that the N1H15, as well as what happened in Africa, because their islands are sinking.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I find it along the way, like an improvisation.
Who's your captain? Howie Carr.
We now have a situation where Trump's own people are actually in greater danger, but those of us who live in This Earth can't even reach them.
Not the Earth. Another Earth.
Guess what? Coronavirus! Coronavirus!
Unchained and unstoppable.
More people are dead and dying in America tonight because Donald Trump is president.
This is so dramatic. Maybe the president's trying to pressure Google to get it done faster, but there's no indication that game is working.
As you know, this is from Google. They put out a release, and you guys can figure it out yourselves and how that got out. And I'm sure you'll apologize, but it would be great if we could really give the news correctly. It would be so wonderful.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
844-500-4842. As Bernie Sanders put it so well, we're in an Ebola crisis. Or, as the vice president said, we've been through coronavirus before. I mean, N1H1. And then he also said SARS. He's been through SARS. They were in the Situation Room. I wonder if they were tippling in the Situation Room, and that's why I can't remember the name of it. He kept talking about the Situation Room. It made a great impression on him. Sometimes you go to a nice restaurant or a bar, and you remember it for a long time. That's the Situation Room for Joe Biden. We'll play that cut later on when he keeps talking about the Situation Room. But just for right now, though, Joe committed the ultimate PC faux pas last night. He said the A word before he corrected himself. Cut 2.
There are certain things you cannot deport an undocumented alien for, an undocumented person for.
How dare you cite the federal criminal code?
How dare you?
What a racist, horrible thing to say. Call an alien an alien.
You better watch your microaggressions, bro.
844-500-4242. Time now for the Chump line.
Hey, Howie, did you see the Democrat debate? If you didn't, all you missed was an empty suit, an empty skull, and an empty studio.
It was pretty dreadful, I must say. There was not a lot to watch. I generally go back and forth between the news channels and sports. So now my only option is news channels. So that didn't leave me much. And I had just watched all the Boston Blackie movies I cared to watch. So I watched it for an hour, and then I finally just checked out. Went back to my dime novel that I bought online.
Bernie Sanders says his head is full of Ebola. I'm surprised there's any room left with all those rocks.
Yeah, play that cut. Cut 9.
So the lesson to be learned is we have got to move aggressively right now to address the economic crisis as a result of Ebola. Keep talking about Ebola. Got Ebola in my head here right now. As a result of the virus here, the coronavirus.
Yeah. All right. Let's play Biden's live stream too. We've been meaning to play this, Taylor. Cut number 10. This is from Friday night. He's doing a live stream. It didn't work out. It lasted about 4.5 minutes. Cut.
Yeah, if the technical difficulties couldn't be an explanation for this, I take it as an apology for his gaffes.
Well, I'm sorry this has been such a disjointed effort here because of the connections, but there's a lot more to say, but I've already probably said too much to you.
The disjointed connections. He's got a ball in his head too, only in his case, it's the N1H1 coronavirus SARS virus, Ebola.
Copy.
The Chump line is brought to you by Matthews Brothers, America's oldest window manufacturer, whose wicked awesome windows and doors are only available through Better Lumberyards and Window Professionals.
Hey, Howie, how long till we finally get curbside senility testing?
Can Google do that for us next after they finish setting up the other tests that Brian Stelter says aren't being set up?
So far in Massachusetts, Ted Kennedy's Belmont has a higher mortality rate than coronavirus.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The Brazilian illegal alien who killed 4 members of that family from Whitman. He has killed as many he's killed 4 times. Well, he's killed 4, and coronavirus has killed 0 Massachusetts residents. If you want to include the state of Florida, where the Massachusetts residents were killed by the illegal alien in a car, it's tied. Coronavirus 4, illegal alien Brazilian 4.
When Biden was asked about H1N1, he replied, bingo.
Very good. I like that. You know, that's the old timers at the rest home. They like their bingo.
Lovey, I don't understand the hoarding of toilet paper. Don't the hoi polloi have gold-plated bidets like us?
I never understood the attraction of bidets, spelled B-I-D-E-T. But the guy I work with down here who helps me out, me and Grace when she's down here, he works in public sometimes. There was a near fist fight. He works in the produce, which is a little safer, but over in the dry goods department, there was
Howie of the New Hampshire State Police. I think their bagpipe corps or something like that. Their trip to Ireland got canceled, so they just went to their local Walmart instead and played Amazing Grace at the empty shelves of the toilet paper.
Go ahead.
My corona. My corona.
Oh, I hadn't even thought about that one. They say all the millennials are posing on social media holding up bottles of Corona beer, but I hadn't even thought about that. My Sharona, get it? My Sharona, my Corona.
This is really the left's dream come true. Tank the economy and blame it on the corona flu. Now they'll be able to create the fable that it's all Trump's fault. He didn't have a clue.
That's all. That sums it up right in one simple limerick from Limerick Guy in the 413 area code.
Howie, would it be a microaggression if I call it the communist China meat market virus?
Chris Plant on his morning radio show today said he was talking to somebody at the supermarket down in D.C. on Friday, and the guy said, "Why can't we just call this the election year flu, the election year virus?" That's what it is, I think. You know, again, it's real, but the way it's being treated differently than the way swine flu was being treated is just very instructive, I think. And certainly the way the presidents are being treated differently, even though the previous president, Obama, had 12,000 Americans dead. There are, 60 dead here so far? 60 dead as opposed to 12,000. And nobody blamed Obama. No panic. No restaurants shut down. No sports seasons canceled. No schools closed. No churches padlocked, et cetera, et cetera.
Hi, Howie. Governor Patrick calling. Wow, this coronavirus panic is so bad that it's hard to find toilet paper. Perhaps that's why sales of my paperback are doing so well. Oh, well, where can these find?
I think his paperback has been trashed and turned into other books that were probably brought back and trashed. Maybe his books, Deval Patrick's books, were turned into Mayor Pugh's books. What is it, Healthy Holly or Holly Holy? She's going to prison. Is she asking for a continuation of when she has to report for prison? She asked for one a couple of weeks ago. Now she's probably asking for another one. I never understood that. If I were going to prison to serve 2 or 3 years, I'd want to get it over with immediately. I'd report tomorrow morning.
That was your last Chump line message. Thank you for calling Howie Carr, you chump.
603 points out that unlicensed Ukrainian drivers and high and drunk caused more deaths than the coronavirus. That's true. They're ahead of Florida and Massachusetts and New Hampshire combined. Anybody dead in New Hampshire? That Ukrainian, that legal alien who didn't have a license, he killed 7 Americans last. If you include the Ukrainian and the illegal Brazilian, that's 11 Americans dead. That's almost 1/5 of the whole coronavirus total by 2 people who didn't even belong in this country. 844-500-4242. That is the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. If you'd like to join us here this afternoon, every weekday afternoon, if you would just call, press 2 for the Chump line, leave your message. We may or may not play it at this time each weekday. The Chump line is brought to you by Matthews Brothers, America's oldest window manufacturer, whose wicked awesome windows and doors are only available through Better Lumber Yards and Window Professionals.
When Biden was asked about H1N1, he replied, bingo.
I like that one. We'll be right back. I'm Howie Carr.
He's suave, he's debonair, he's Howie Carr.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Terry Riley of Robert Paul Properties, your Cape Cod real estate expert. Her vast experience will help you navigate the market and make the process easy and fun. 508-776-6182. If you haven't called New England Center for Hair Restoration for your $6,000 hair restoration, you better call today, because there is only one more day left to take advantage of this unbelievable deal. Over 50 of my listeners have already booked their free consultation. There are only 10 slots left to save $3,500. Don't get left out. This will absolutely end tomorrow. Get your hair transplant for just $6,000. I know there are still some of my listeners out there that could use a great hair restoration at an unbeatable price. You know who you are. What are you waiting for? The price to go back up? Save $3,500 for qualifying patients. You cannot afford not to do this, so don't wait. Remember, this unbelievable price for a hair restoration ends tomorrow. For those who qualify, third-party financing is available with monthly payments as low as $119. Call 800-313-HAIR for your free consultation. That's 800-313-HAIR. Call 800-313-HAIR or visit 6khair.com. 6khair.com.
I'm the Vice President of the United States.
Love him or hate him, Joe Biden's here for the long haul. But we can't get enough of his gaffes. Here's the best of Uncle Joe's speaking before he thinks.
We choose truth over facts.
When the stock market crashed, Franklin Roosevelt got on television.
Make sure you have the record player on at night.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids. Okay, look, all right. Look, you can frack with me later, okay?
The teachers are I'm married to a teacher. My deceased wife is a teacher.
And Corn Pop was a bad dude.
I can tell you, and I've known 8 presidents. 3 of the minimum.
If you agree with me, go to Joe 30330 and help me.
Had over 40 kids shot in Kent State on a beautiful lawn. I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it?
I said something that was not meant the way I said.
I mean, what is it that I said wrong? I want to be clear. I'm not going nuts. Anyway, my time's up. I'm sorry.
The Subaru of New England, Washington's birthday sales event lasts all month long. Feel the freedom in the all-new, all-wheel drive 2020 Subaru Outback with standard LED headlights, starting at only $26,645 with 0.9% financing for up to 48 months, or lease for only $249 per month for 36 months with $24.49 due at signing. Details at SubaruofNewEngland.com.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
If Mr. Gooner was a person, what college would she attend?
The U.S. Coast Guard Academy.
Is Mr. Gooner a conservative or a Democrat?
Mr. Gooner is a fiscal conservative and a social liberal.
If you could have dinner with any president, dead or alive, who would it be?
Calvin Coolidge. He was from Massachusetts, and I liked his attitude towards public sector unions. And he said, the business of America is business. He's my guy.
Other than yourself, which columnist do you respect the most?
The late George Fraser, he was a columnist for the Boston Herald, the Boston Globe. Most people have forgotten him now. Jimmy Cannon was pretty good. He was so good that Mike Barnacle used to steal stuff from him all the time. Breslin was good in his early days, not so good later on, but when he was working for the Herald Tribune back when I was a kid in New York, he was damn good.
The Subaru of New England, Washington's birthday sales event lasts all month long. Feel the freedom in the all-new all-wheel drive 2020 Subaru Outback with standard LED headlights, starting at only $26,645 with 0.9% financing for up to 48 months, or lease for only $249 per month for 36 months with $24.49 due at signing. Details at SubaruofNewEngland.com.
Hi, my name's Jane Lucas, and I am from the town of South China, Maine.
This is Al from Merrimack, New Hampshire.
Hi, I'm Angela from Brewster on the Cape, and this is the one and the only Howie Carr Show.
It was a huge weekend for gun sales and ammo sales, all the social unrest and the general pandemonium around this coronavirus so-called pandemic, and we thought it'd be a good time to have another cheap bastard deal here.
It's Howie Carr's cheap bastard deal.
Oh yeah.
Sounds too good to be true.
Oh no, it's real and it's a steal.
You know there's plenty more when you shop at Howie's store for another Howie Carr cheap bastard deal.
Howie Carr, the cheapest bastard around.
I love my firearms. I love my FID. I love being a licensed gun owner, especially at times like this. And I got my guns at Cape Gun Works in Hyannis, and they're friends of the show, and they're advertisers. They've had some great cheap bastard deals for over the years, and they've got another one here today. Toby's with us. Toby, what have you got for us today? The Howie Carr Show, the HowieCarrShow.com store. What do you got?
All right, Howie. Good to hear from you again, and hope you're enjoying the sunshine and staying safe and all this craziness. But today we have a wonderful cheap bastard deal, not to be outdone from last time. We have our full annual plus membership, which we did last time, and that is a $500 a year special, normal price, and it's a $175 initiation fee the first time. So that's a $675 value. And today it can be yours for the cheapest bastard around for $250. So it's a really good deal, and we got a few of these, and they always quick. So
and what do they and what does this include? Now a lot of people are looking to buy ammo right now. Even if they've got their permits, they are in their firearms, they want to get ammo. They get a deal on ammo if they become members, right?
They do. They get 5% off anything in the store. I mean, guns, ammo, holsters, scopes, sights, red dots, anything we sell in the store, you get 5% off every day. So that's a big benefit to being a member. Then you get 10% off any classes we offer. And we have a ton of different classes on the schedule these days. And as far as ammo is concerned, it is going like hotcakes. I mean, it's selling like crazy right now. And we are trying to cater to our members first, which is nice. Another perk for being a member. But you know what? There's a lot of people worried that they're not going to be able to get it for a while. And we have pretty good prices on ammo. We haven't gouged anybody. I know, across the country, you hear stories of people getting gouged right now, and we're not doing that. We're just passing it along like we normally do. And sales are brisk, as they say.
What are your vendors telling you? Are you going to be able to get more? You going to be able to get more, or how could there be interruptions?
We hope so. There's definitely going to be some supply chain issues as we go. There's no question about it. And it's already happened a little bit, but we are still getting shipments. Our vendors are being good to us. We buy a lot off them every year, So they're really catering to us and keeping the shipments coming, which is nice. And so today we just got a couple pallets of Winchester ammo, and but like I said, it's going quick. It's people, and we're not putting huge breaks on people. We're letting them buy up to a case of ammo. We're not limiting them to 2 boxes or anything like that. We're trying to let people, get enough to keep them for a while. So this deal, this is a $500 membership, and then you usually have to pay the $175 initiation fee. So it's a $675 deal for just $250. And the benefits include access to the state-of-the-art gun ranges, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Monday through Saturday, 11 to 5 on Sundays. No copay when you use the range. You get to bring in a guest anytime for free, 5% discount on anything in the store, including guns and ammo, 10% off all the classes, 30%, 100% satisfaction guarantee for every firearm you purchase. And it gives you also full access to the indoor archery range and a Cape Gun Works t-shirt. That's a pretty good deal all around. It's a great deal, and they won't last long. So hopefully some people will get on board and take advantage of this special. And I have people come in the store saying, when are you going to do a cheap bastard deal with Howie? Well, here it is. Here it is, folks. We don't have too many. Get on board now. Go to HowieCarrShow.com and click on store. They go fast. Cape Gun Works. It's in Hyannis. It's a great, great place to shoot and to buy guns and ammo and all of your other needs. I'm Howie Carr.
Buying a new car, truck, or SUV should not be complicated or confusing. If you see someone advertising a price that's too good to be true, it probably is. At Banks in Concord, you will always get the lowest price. That's a promise. With over 2,000 vehicles in stock in one location, Bank Chevrolet Buick GMC will save you time and money. Browse our huge selection in person or online at banksautos.com. Our knowledgeable online sales team will make sure you are truly getting the lowest price, and they can take care of most of the details before you even walk through the door, saving you time and money. Right now, qualified lessees can lease an all-wheel drive 2020 Chevy Traverse LS for only $329 per month for 36 months, or a 2019 Silverado Double Cab for only $299 per month. Chevrolet, find new roads. Bank Chevrolet Buick GMC in Concord, New Hampshire. Always the lowest price. That's a promise. BanksAutos.com. Must have a current GM lease within household. See dealer for complete details.
He is the youngest senator that is going to be running. In his video, he also mentioned he's the only senator that lives in the inner city, and he's an unmarried vegan. So a lot of very unique qualities Cory Booker brings to the table, Kate.
Now, I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. This is about the closest I'll probably ever have in my life to an I am Spartacus moment. I am Spartacus. I am Spartacus.
Joey, you like movies about gladiators?
Have you ever had an LGBTQ law clerk?
I've not been a judge, so I don't have any law clerks.
Someone working for you.
I'm to be honest, I don't know the sexual orientation of my staff.
When Dick Durbin called me, I had tears of rage when I heard about this experience in that meeting. And for you not to feel that hurt, tears of rage.
Would you just stop being so dramatic?
I'm a big believer that if this country hasn't broken your heart, then you don't love her enough.
Here's how it works with my retirement accounts, and I'll bet yours too. If your 401k, your SEP, your IRA, whatever is going up, you probably don't think very much about it, right? But if it's going down, well, there's nothing much else you can think of. So for the last couple of years, none of us have been worrying much about those quarterly statements. But lately, it's gotten a little worrisome. It's not that bad, not yet anyway, but what goes up must come down. Now is the time to start thinking about adjusting your investments. Gold and silver have always been a hedge against stock market volatility. Uncertainty about the future has traditionally meant rising prices for precious metals. Orion Metal Exchange is the only precious metals company I trust. Give Orion a call to get a free, no obligation investment guide about protecting your future with an enduring investment in gold and silver. You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain, including peace of mind, by calling Orion Metal Exchange now. Call them today at 800-912-2300. And with Orion, you'll get more metal for your money. Call 800-912-2300. That's 800-912-2300.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Out of all of your books, which is your favorite title and why?
I think my favorite title is Hitman because it's very effective. I thought long and hard about it. We're going to make it Boston Hitman, but then why make it Boston Hitman? Just make it Hitman. Make it a universal subject.
If you could have dinner with one author, dead or alive, who would it be?
I would probably have dinner with William Shakespeare. I know that's a cliche response, but he was the greatest writer in the English language, no question about it.
If you won Mega Millions, would you retire completely?
I used to say no, I would not retire, but yeah, I think I would retire now.
If you had to leave all of your money to one charity, which would it be?
The Salvation Army. I like what the Salvation Army does. I don't think they have too many highly paid executives trying to be social justice warriors.
Joe Biden doesn't have time for malarkey, and he also doesn't have a lot of time for geography. Take a listen.
The people of Nevada are watching, and I'm going to be out there seeing them very soon. Tonight, though, we just heard from the first 2 of 50 states. It's important that Iowa and Nevada have spoken, but look, we need to hear from Nevada and South Carolina and Super Tuesday states and beyond.
And Biden doesn't know the difference between Iran and Iraq. He's gotten it wrong 4 times.
We tried it in Iraq. It's not working, so now we're going to try, in Iran, we tried in Ukraine.
He always gets the name wrong.
I love this place. Look, what's not to like about Vermont in terms of the beauty of it? And what a neat town. This is sort of a scenic, beautiful town. I like Keene a lot.
How many times has he missed it? He's in Iowa. It's great to be in the great state of Ohio. And they say, Joe, you're in Iowa.
How many unsafe bridges you still have here in the state of Iowa? And I was just in Ohio because they have more.
We're waiting on Corey.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studio.
I'll do the poll question. Today's poll question is brought to you by the all-new 2020 Subaru Outback, featuring symmetrical all-wheel drive. Go where love takes you. Taylor, what's the poll question and what are the results thus far?
Will the White House impose a national curfew by the end of the week?
I think not. I hope not.
70% say they don't think so either.
All right. 844-500-4242. Joining us now on the line is Corey Lewandowski, former campaign manager for then candidate Donald Trump back in 2016. And now he's an advisor to the vice president and to the president. Corey, what's the what can you give us in terms of the latest on this coronavirus situation?
Well, Howie, thanks for having me. The president today announced that he is going to increase the Center for Disease Control recommendations, which were to not gather with more than 50 people. The president has now made the recommendation of gatherings no more than 10 people for a period of time to be determined. And obviously, it's a precautionary measure. And those individuals who are healthy and show no signs of any disease or any fatigue have no reason to be at emergency medical facilities. But those people who have some type of immune deficiency or have recently undergone some type of surgery or are older in years want to be very careful about this. And so social distancing is now the term that we're using to keep people away from others. We saw it last night on the debate stage. 6 feet is the recommended distance that the government is recommending for people to stay away from others. And really, it's about hygiene, washing your hands, hand sanitizer, and not putting yourself in places where you have the potential to pass on a type of virus, even if you don't know that you currently have it.
Have you been speaking to the president, Corey, about this?
Howie, I have the privilege to speak to the president a lot. I was with him last week, had dinner with him, and then I've had the chance to speak to him on the phone over the last week or so about it. Sure.
He seems like he's a little, he yesterday especially, he seemed like he was a little irritated with the way the press was handling this thing, accusing him of lying about Google, and he just, he left without taking any questions. And I don't blame him a bit. And then today they're asking him again about this test. I mean, they gave Obama a total pass on swine flu, and he didn't act until 1,000 Americans were dead. And then he went out to play a round of golf. And the New York Times said that he was doing a good job in being a responsible leader and not causing panic in the public at large. I mean, talk about a double standard here, Corey.
Well, Howie, you have to remember when anybody points out the same factual accuracies of where this pandemic originated, which we know is in China, you are now strictly xenophobic in the words of CNN, except their own reporters use the exact same language. And I think this is what makes people very upset with the mainstream media.
Yes.
There have always been two separate standards, one for the Trump people like myself and others, and one for the beautiful people, Howie, the Obamas of the world, the Bidens of the world. You know, Biden went out last night and completely confused coronavirus with other pandemics that have transpired, and not one person questioned him on it. Jake Tapper from Dartmouth didn't call him to the carpet on it, right? Jake Tapper, the famed Dartmouth mythology, and CNN did not even question him on it. But if that was Corey Lewandowski or President Trump, you know for sure he would have been chastising us and telling us how wrong we were. And that's what the American people are tired of, Howie. They're tired of the double standard that the mainstream media has had against this president, and they see it firsthand. And I think the president's also frustrated with it, because what he said, I believe it was yesterday, was the healthcare system that he inherited from the Obama administration was not set for a pandemic like this. Azar has said that. Fauci has said that. Everybody has said the same thing. So they have to rebuild our healthcare apparatus from the ground up, going to the private sector in order to combat this terrible pandemic that we're facing. But they get no credit for that. It's all just doom and gloom all the time.
I have here a story from Front Page Magazine about what the CDC has been spending money on in recent years, you know, with the congressional approval. And this goes back to Obama years. They spent $106 million on a visitor center with Japanese gardens, a $200,000 gym, a transgender beauty pageant. They promoted bike paths. They pushed gun control, $25 million to the CDC to study gun violence. They announced a plan to end syphilis in 5 years. Guess what? Syphilis is at record levels today after the CDC's plan. I mean, this is what they've been spending money on these social programs. They've been using it as another slush fund for liberal nonprofits.
Well, Howie, of course they have, and they never would have been called to the carpet if something like this didn't happen. And I'm sure those Japanese gardens they have there are very beautiful. Of course, I don't know what anyone gives a shit. I mean, cares, you can't say that, I'm sorry, cares about whether they look like. But Howie, here's the point. People are so tired of a broken government, right? People are so tired of politics as usual. And when Donald Trump went to Washington, D.C. to kick the door down and change the way things operate, people chastised him for it. They complained about it. But today we're better off because of it, because we have seen our tax-paying dollars be wasted for 30 years in Washington, D.C. with no results. And that's the result of where we are today. We are in a hole because of the problems that we've inherited over the years, and nobody wants to admit that.
Corey, we have to break early because we got someone from the White House coming on shortly. But I appreciate you being with us, and we'll talk to you soon, and stay safe. Thank you. Thank you, Corey. With home security, there's two ways you can go about protecting your home. There's the traditional way where you wait weeks for a technician to do a messy installation that costs a small fortune. Or there's the other way, Simply Safe. Simply Safe is everything you need in a home security system. It's award-winning protection. Two-time winner of CNET Editor's Choice Award. Simply Safe blankets your whole home in safety. You get comprehensive protection for your entire home. Outdoor cameras and doorbells alert you to anyone approaching your home. Entry, motion, and glass break sensors guard inside. You barely notice it's there. But what's truly remarkable is you can set up this system all by yourself. Anyone can do it. It takes 30 minutes to an hour tops, and there's absolutely no trade-offs to your safety. You'll have an army of highly trained security experts ready to dispatch police to your home at a moment's notice, 24/7. And it's only 50 cents a day with no contracts. That's why The Verge calls Simply Safe the best home security system. Go to simplysafehowie.com today, and you'll get free shipping and a free 60-day risk-free trial. You've got nothing to lose and peace of mind to gain. Go now and be sure you go to simplysafehowie.com. That's simplysafehowie.com. I'm Howie Carr.
Howie Carr. You can trust him. He's not like the others.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by the Salt Air Inn Bed and Breakfast in Bar Harbor, Maine.
So, Howie?
Yes?
Seema Verma, she was at Trump's press conference today. She was standing just behind him, so she'll have a good idea of what's going on.
Seema Verma, and what is her title exactly?
Verma, Verma, M as in manly.
Okay. Seema Verma, and what's her title?
She is administrator for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and she is a member of
Center for
Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services.
Yeah.
And she is a member of Trump's Corona Task Force.
Member of the task force. Okay. Okay, great. And how long have we got her for?
Just go on as long as you can.
Okay.
Try to get her to the top of the hour.
Okay.
They didn't put a limit on me.
Okay, great. Okay, thanks.
Miles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Who was your favorite actor?
Humphrey Bogart, no doubt about it. I love all the old Humphrey Bogart movies. Jimmy Cagney would be a close second.
Do you have a celebrity crush?
No celebrity crushes.
Ginger or Marianne?
I always was a Marianne person. Never was bowled over by that Hollywood look. Plus, Ginger was in more revealing attire, scantily clad.
Salty or sweet?
Neither, but if I have to pick, I'll go with sweet.
Movies or TV?
TV.
McDonald's or Burger King?
McDonald's, although I'd prefer Five Guys.
Facebook or Twitter?
Definitely Twitter. I hate Facebook.
Cake or pie?
I'm a cake guy.
Coke or Pepsi?
Diet Coke.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee, obviously.
Winter or summer?
Summer. Good Lord. Why would you want winter? It's cold and it's dark.
This is Alex from East Bridgewater, Mass.
This is Ann in Saco, Maine.
This is John Succo from Hampton, Mass. And this is the Howie Carr Show.
Joining us now on the line is Seema Verma, and she is an administrator for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and she is a member of the President's Task Force on Coronavirus. If you saw the press conference live today during the first hour of this show, about 2 hours ago, she was standing right behind the president. So she's right in the midst of this. Seema Verma, what is the lead today on coronavirus that the listeners and the viewers need to know? Thanks for being with us, first of all.
Oh, great to be here today. Thanks, Howie. I think the big thing that came out today were the recommendations for every single American. And it was very clear. They said for the next 15 days, we want folks to do this. And I think one big takeaway was, just limiting gatherings to about 10 people. A lot of the information about hand washing, those types of things, I think we've seen before. Today's recommendations were also around restaurants. Some recommendations there about, limiting restaurants. You're going to see some closures in some areas as well. But encouraging people, if you need to get food from a restaurant, try takeout instead. So those were some of the newer recommendations that we had today.
What is the difference between this and swine flu 10 years ago? I mean, people are going back, and there were a lot more Americans were killed by swine flu than have been killed by coronavirus, and there was none of this, dare I say it, hysteria at the time. What's the difference between swine flu in 2009 and coronavirus in 2020?
I think the impact on vulnerable populations is more significant. So individuals that have underlying healthcare conditions, the mortality rate is more significant in this population. And it seems like in terms of the infection rate, the number of people that are catching the coronavirus, that also is different as well.
What's going to be done for? I mean, I'll look at all the people who work in the hospitality industry. A lot of them are not going to get a paycheck, not going to get any tips. Even if there's takeout, they're not going to make the same kind of money at the very least if they're not totally laid off. What are their options as we go forward?
Well, that's why you've heard the president talk about the economic package. That's what the House passed just recently, and the Senate is also working on a bill to address people that are impacted by the virus. So whereas you have a public health strategy, you also have an economic strategy. We know that people, whether they're infected or not, it's having an impact on their lives, for small businesses, for workers at businesses, people that have to stay home to take care of their kids because their schools are closed. All of those pieces are going to have an economic impact on Americans. And that's what the package that Congress is working on. So we're talking about paid sick leave. You're talking about loans for small businesses and a whole other, series of, I would say, items that are going to help people that are impacted by this financially.
What should people do when they go to the supermarket and they see that they're whatever they need, whether it's, obviously the one everybody's talking about is toilet paper, but bottled water. And now there are reports of markets are starting to run out of frozen vegetables and fruits, that kind of thing. What should they do when they find whatever they need to be not in stock wherever they go to get it?
Well, last week, the president met with some of the major retailers, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS. I think we're making very clear those stores are going to stay open. Some of them have limited their hours because they need to restock and they need to clean. But we're going to have grocery stores open, and we're working with manufacturers to make sure that people get the things that they need, whether it's hand sanitizer, toilet paper, and food. All of those things should be available.
Now, why don't you explain to people what happened with Google? Friday, he announced that Google was working to set up these basically, correct me if I'm wrong, testing, online testing that could be done. And then he was accused by by some elements of the media of making it up, and they were in fact making it up. Can you give us where these Google tests stand today and what the controversy was about?
Sure. I think there was just some issues of, first of all, to make very clear, Google was not going to do tests. What we're trying to stand up is a website that will allow people to be screened to take a test and then go to a testing site. One of the things that we're trying to stand up is, essentially drive-throughs where people can get a swab and then they can get their test results. So they don't have to actually get out of the car. They don't have to go into a facility. And the idea is you just drive up. What they're trying to do is set up a website so that people can go to the website and see if they meet the criteria to go to one of these testing locations. So they're over 65 and have some type of symptoms. And then number two, healthcare workers. And over time, they may change the criteria, but they're at least starting with those two. And we've been talking to Google and working with them about how we could set up this particular website.
So I think one thing you want to stress is that not everybody needs to have one of these tests, that they're not, just because you see something on, don't be spooked by what you're seeing on TV, in other words. And that, as you say, unless you're in one of the vulnerable groups, like being over 65, what would be another indication? What would be another group that might be susceptible here?
Well, I do think it's important that people don't panic. If you have symptoms, the first thing you should do is call your doctor's office, have a conversation with them. I think one of the things that want people to know is sometimes you can talk to your doctor over the phone. You do sort of a telehealth visit, so that avoids you having to go in. And then based on the conversation that you have with your doctor, they're going to determine whether they think it's appropriate for you to have the test. We've heard some cases where, folks are showing symptoms, and then it turns out that they just had the flu or they had a cold. I think it's around 97% of people that are being tested, maybe even higher, don't have the coronavirus. So most people may have, if they're having some respiratory illnesses, it may actually be something else. It may not be the coronavirus. So talk to your doctor first. They may want to run some other tests, or they may tell you not to have the test, but the first place that you should go to is your doctor.
I had a shot for the flu early last fall. Millions of other Americans had a shot for the flu. Is it safe to say that Seema Verma, administrator for the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services and a member of the task force, that flu continues right now to be killing more Americans than coronavirus does?
That is true. According to the current data, that is exactly right. The good news is there was an announcement today also at the press conference where Dr. Fauci talked about their progress on developing a vaccine. And they've actually started phase 1 trials for this and did that in record time. So that's also good news to note today in the midst of all of this.
But yet, it's this, the country seems to be shutting down. Why are we shutting down if coronavirus is less of a threat than the flu?
That's a good question. I think the difference between the flu and the coronavirus is that it can hurt more people. And so in other words, the mortality rate is higher, 10 times as much for people with underlying health conditions, like the elderly with underlying health conditions, or anybody who's immunocompromised. So it's a lot more virulent, if you will, than the normal flu is.
And so how is that? Do you see the president? How does is he angry about the way he's? I mean, they were in my opinion, as a lifelong reporter, the questions he's asked at these press conferences are just are obnoxious. They're just trying. They're looking for gotcha moments. How is he responding to this every day, going out there?
I think he's done a great job responding to the questions. I think he has a lot of confidence in the team, the way the vice president is handling the response. I mean, he's made it very clear this is a whole government approach, and he's got every entity that needs to be there engaged in this. And he's leading these efforts. I think a lot of the actions that you see, and some people may think that they're extreme, but we also heard Dr. Fauci say, we want to get ahead of this. You don't want it to get out of control. If you look at the situation in Italy, that is the situation that we are trying to avoid. When you get to that point, that means your healthcare system is completely overwhelmed. They run out of supplies, they run out of beds, they run out of equipment. And so that's why the president is leading on all of these mitigation actions, because we don't want to create that type of situation. The other thing that Dr. Fauci said at the press conference, which I thought was very enlightening, is he said, you're taking actions based on where you're going to be in a few weeks.
1 minute.
Not on actually what's going on right now, but what you will see in 3 or 4 weeks. So sometimes these actions may seem draconian, but they're really about getting ahead of what we might see. And that's why the president's leadership on this issue is so important and so critical, because he's been supportive of what the scientists are telling him.
How soon could we see a vaccination be available?
Well, I would leave that question to the NIH, but I think they're working very hard and fast. The fact that they already got to the phase 1 trials, I think, is very important. But it could take some time. It's not going to happen overnight, which again kind of goes back to why we're taking so much aggressive action to mitigate the spread of the virus and to make sure the healthcare system is prepared for this.
Seema Verma from the Center for Medicaid and Medicare Services and a member of the task force. Thanks very much for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show. I'm Howie Carr. Did you already blow it on your New Year's resolution? Didn't stick to that trendy new diet plan? Stop the roller coaster and get the weight off for good. People still say to me, wow, Howie, you look really great with all that weight off. But it's a lot more than looking better. It really is about feeling better, too. For me, it's about not having to wear a CPAP mask in order to sleep through the night. I'm able to go on bike rides every day. Sometimes I go on 2 or 3. I have much lower blood pressure, a lot more energy. I still eat what I want to eat, but unlike before the sleeve, now I don't overeat. Get the weight off for good. Call Newton Wellesley Weight Loss Center. Call 617-243-3724 or go to nwh.org/weight loss. Don't procrastinate any longer. Whatever your age, whatever your gender, do it. Call 617-243-3724 or go to nwh.org/weight loss.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
If you could go back in time and give your younger self advice, what would you say?
Get a state job, because behind the job comes the pension.
What's the best advice anyone's ever given you?
Most advice is pretty forgettable.
What's the best money you've ever spent?
The investment I made to leave the corporate radio prison I was in, the worst people I ever worked for, no doubt about it. I'd probably be dead if I were still working for them.
If you were on a deserted island and you could only bring 3 things, what would you bring?
A radio, a Wi-Fi system, obviously, and a computer, and I would bring some books. Don't ask me which books, too hard a question.
What was your dad's job when you were growing up?
My dad worked as a resort hotel manager. He worked in Florida at the Breakers in the winter, and then he worked at the Mountain View House, as it was called then, in Whitefield, New Hampshire, and various other places.
Whether it's about it.
We're talking about cities all over.
You know, I've spent a lot of time now with these young students, and they're scared, and a lot of young people are even suffering from, they're calling,
so that we can have people here who truly are committed to climate change, believe in climate change as though it's a religion, it's not a science.
A woman whose dreams of motherhood now taste bittersweet because of what I know about our children's future.
You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words.
That curing cancer is going to be much more difficult when there's so much climate change and pollutants in the environment, because a lot of cancer is environmentally caused.
Recognizing and acknowledging the link between animal agriculture and climate change is a very bold move, making tonight plant-based.
You're listening to the Howie Carr Show.
John, what happened at Perfect Smiles when you went?
The initial consultation was easy. In the past, they just hand me a clipboard to fill out the forms, but that's not how it worked at Perfect Smiles. What was nice was it was a true consultation. They asked me my medical history or what I wanted to get out of the treatment plan. For me, I lived with TMJ. I'd literally have to crack my jaw throughout the day to relieve the pressure. I'd get headaches throughout the day. I'd be in pain. When I was at Perfect Smiles, they asked me what I wanted to get out of the treatment. You know, as a joke, I just said, geez, I'd love you to be able to fix my TMJ. And I was surprised because Dr. Houghton specializes in working with patients like me that have TMJ.
What were the results of visiting Dr. Houghton at Perfect Smiles?
Not only did I walk out of that office with a perfect smile, but he fixed my TMJ. It was a life-changing event. People tell me now that my smile is amazing. People would say, geez, John, your teeth look so great. I never realized my teeth looked so bad before. Now I take a look at the before and after pictures and I'm amazed.
Go to Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire, or visit their website, perfectsmiles.com.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Would you say you're more like your mom or your dad?
No, I don't think I ended up being like either of them, now that I think about it. My mother worked hard, but she never really learned how to make a lot of money. And my father didn't work so hard, but he had a good personality. He was good with people. He was better than me with people. That's what I'm saying. I'm not like either one of them, I don't think.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes, I have a brother, a younger brother.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Well, all kinds of history. I loved all kinds of history.
If you could have 3 houses besides the ones you already have, anywhere in the world, where would they be?
I wouldn't mind having another house in on Beach on Clark Avenue. Maybe a place in southern Maine. I don't need a third place.
Didn't you already have a house in Maine?
I did. It was on an island. It was not a good fit for the mailroom manager.
I've heard the house was haunted. Is that true?
Yes. And, my wife didn't really care that much for my relatives. And now, a minute of wisdom from Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Millennials and people and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it? And this is the war. This is our World War II.
I think that there's a lot of people more concerned about being precisely, factually, and semantically correct than about being morally right.
But being factually correct is important.
It's absolutely important.
And if we work our butts off to make sure that we take back all three chambers of Congress, all three chambers of government, the presidency, the Senate, and the House in 2020, we can't start working in 2020.
You're listening to The Howie Carr Show.
Mike Bloomberg is spending millions of dollars on all of his campaign ads, but we put together some of our favorite Bloomberg clips, and guess what, Mike? This one's totally free.
I think we disproportionately stop whites too much and minorities too little. To be a farmer, it's a process. You dig a hole, you put a seed in, you put dirt on top, add water, up comes the corn. Then we had 300, you could learn that.
Donald Trump is the world's biggest schoolyard bully.
Big gay ice cream is the best. The Communist Party wants to stay in power in China, and they listen to the public. When the public says, I can't breathe the air, Xi Jinping is not a dictator. He has to satisfy his constituents, or he's not going to survive.
He's not a dictator?
No, he has a constituency to answer to.
I'm ready to get to work, so let's get it on.
I would be 79 years old when I took office. To start a 4-year job, maybe an 8-year job at age 79 may not be the smartest thing to do.
Why did you say what you said in that 2015 speech?
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. You get a lot of patients, I'm sure, who are apprehensive about veneers. What are some of the questions and fears you get when you're dealing with new patients?
Some people think they could look too fake, but true cosmetic dentistry is incredibly detail-oriented. So we put a lot of time and effort into individualizing how the smile looks, and we really make them look natural, but very, very pleasant.
People are concerned. They wonder, I got my teeth. Do I really want to put caps on?
Exactly. Yeah, they think they'll have that Hollywood look or fake look, but the technology that we have available and the artistry that we can create now really makes things so natural that most people, in fact, most dentists are just surprised that we can create what we can create nowadays. Everyone is different. Everyone has different facial dimensions, different bone structure, and we do everything we can to individualize treatment because there is no one perfect smile. It is your perfect smile.
Dr. Houghton, where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE, 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
You are known as a cheap bastard. Which one of your daughters is the cheapest and why?
Charlotte is the cheapest, and I say that because she's always using my credit card. We keep changing the credit cards over and over again, and she keeps busting in and using them again. Most recently, just this week, she spent $75 at AT&T.
What's the cheapest thing you do now to save money?
The cheapest thing I do currently to save money, I guess, is I take all the bottles and cans back to the market basket every weekend. I always like to save that money. I can't stand to throw.
Better strap yourself in. It's time for the Howie Carr Show.
The CNN Univision Democratic presidential debate with the two leading candidates, former Vice President Joe Biden and Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. Welcome. It's good to have you.
What? Huh? So?
What?
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 So, well, did you? What?
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
What do you say to the American people who are confronting this new reality?
First of all, my heart goes out to those who have already lost someone.
To address the economic crisis as a result of Ebola, keep talking about Ebola. You got Ebola in my head here right now.
Excuse me, we've been through this before with dealing with the viruses that the N1H15, as well as what happened in Africa, because their islands are sinking.
Sometimes I'll start a sentence, and I don't
Do we
even
have
know
Joe
what's going on. I
Piantadosi?
just hope I find it along the way, like an improv conversation. Improvisation.
Who's your captain? Howie
Do we have
Carr.
Joe?
We now have a situation where Trump's own people are actually in greater danger, but those of us who live in this earth can't even reach them.
Not the Earth. Another Earth.
Guess what? Coronavirus! Coronavirus!
Unchained and unstoppable.
More people are dead and dying in America tonight because Donald Trump is president.
This is so dramatic. Maybe the president's trying to pressure Google to get it done faster, but there's no indication that game is working.
As you know, this is from Google. They put out a release, and you guys can figure it out yourselves and how that got out. And I'm sure you'll apologize, but it would be great if we could really give the news correctly. It would be so wonderful.
Rump swabs, hacks, and moonbats beware. It's Howie Carr.
844-500-4242. That's the toll-free number of the Howie Carr Show. And we're gonna try to get to a lot of calls this hour. We want to take your calls, and we still have some of the cheap bastard deals. Both of the cheap bastard deals left. Zach's Lobster Tail and Restaurant and Lounge up in Windham, New Hampshire. They have closed. They've got the same restrictions on restaurants now in New Hampshire that they do have in Massachusetts. The restrictions were imposed about an hour after we had Zach from Zach's Lobster Tail Restaurant on. But those gift certificates are still available, and we also have a handful of special deals on Cape Gunworks, and that's a really good deal. Anyway, 844-500-4242. Joe Piantadosi is with us often. He sponsors Police Blotter. Piantadosi Baking sponsors Police Blotter Facts Friday, and also Hate Mail Monday, which we haven't gotten to yet today. But he's also a board member of the Massachusetts Restaurant Association. So we wanted to check in with Joe just to see what was going on with the restaurant closures. Joe, this is going to be quite. Thanks for being with us, first of all, Joe.
Oh, happy to be with you, Howie.
What is this going to do to the restaurant industry in Massachusetts? And now that it's extended, it looks like they're pretty much the same restrictions in New Hampshire. What is this going to do to the local hospitality industry?
Well, I'll tell you, we're a resilient group, so everyone's bonding together. They were hoping to do a big takeout push and delivery, and that would try to ease some of the pain over the next few weeks. But some restaurants have now decided to pull out of doing that and just basically closing down and, and just breathing a sigh right now and just see what happens. But I don't see how it's going to, people are going to just suffer so badly. I mean, you look at all the waiters, the service people, the wait staff that rely on tips. And without tips, I mean, how are they going to live? I have no idea. And yet it's an upbeat group, surprisingly. Just it boggles my mind.
Well, I mean, yesterday they were saying, well, maybe the waiters can make the deliveries, but I mean, a lot of people, especially in the urban areas around Boston, they commute to the restaurants. They don't have cars, right. The government's been discouraging people from having cars, and now they're saying, "Oh, just go and drive around in your car."
Exactly, aimlessly too. Not even know where you're going. I don't know. I think I'm hearing a lot of restaurateurs that are having their places totally sanitized. So a lot of the people plan on just scrubbing down the place and cleaning it and just waiting, for the tides to change here. But I don't know. I mean, every time I turn the television on or the radio on, there's more closings and more restaurants, even some closed this morning. Some just not even open today, which was surprising. I figured today there'd be a big bump in restaurant sales, but I think people just plan on hunkering down. I'm surprised that I'm happy to see that they're bonding together, and I mean, also waiting for some some package from the government that's going to subsidize it. I know individual restaurateurs, there's no way they can survive by continuing.
That's
to
what I was going to say.
their staff.
The average restaurant is a smaller operation, right? I mean, I don't want to call it mom and pop per se, but it's a small business. And I mean, how long can they just, take it? Pay they still have to pay real estate tax. Maybe they got a mortgage on the building, or they're paying rent on a building. I mean, how long can they be shut? How long can they be shut down?
No question. It just boggles my mind. And just when you think, well, you heard the president say today, July or August, which was kind of a shock to everybody. And then, they're hoping, Easter Sunday is a huge restaurant day.
Right.
And restaurants were kind of, hoping when the governor misspoke last night, he said April 17th, and basically it's April 6th that he's putting the ban on in place. So a lot of people breathed a sigh of relief, thinking, okay, we'll be open for Easter Sunday. And now you hear the president just canceled the Easter egg roll, which is the day after Easter. So I don't know. I don't see us opening restaurants before Easter. And of course, they're pushing college graduations. Will not happen this year, which is May.
Don't forget singers in restaurants.
I just see it a long time before restaurants reopen it, and I just think it's going to really rock the industry. And
Taylor wanted me to point out this is not as big of an impact as say the kitchen staff or the wait staff, but how about the entertainment, like singers and bands? They're gone. They're going to get a pay cut.
Venues. Look at the casino. Like you take Encore Casino, all the restaurants in Encore plus any entertainment actually had, performing. And think about all the vendors. For my company, Piantodosi Baking Company, we supply bread, and now all of a sudden you're not supplying bread to these places. And what do you do? Fortunately, people eat bread, and maybe our retail sales will take a bump, and takeout is still going to be strong, hopefully, because people aren't used to cooking at home either. So people are going to have to make concessions, and I'm sure takeout is going to go through the roof between delivery and takeout in places. But it's just going to it just trickles down to everybody that touches the hospitality industry. That's what it's going to. But in fact, at first I thought Governor Baker was a little strong yesterday, but then to hear Cuomo today in New York, and then New Jersey followed suit, and I just think it's going to be a domino effect. They're all going to do it, and it's going to be tough, So I just think that they say go out and buy gift certificates and to support the restaurants and use them as soon as they reopen. I mean, that's obviously an option. If you can get takeout at your favorite
I don't get what happens. Joe, I'm just like thinking of this thing through, and I think about hotels. So you're at a hotel. So the guests come in, and I guess they still got to have room service, but room service is just generally an adjunct of the restaurant. But so the hotel restaurant is not going to be open. So you're going to have how are you going to keep room service going?
And he told me this morning that $300,000 of events were canceled over the past, few weeks. And you just can't. How do you recoup that? I mean, it's funny because snowstorms always hurt the restaurant industry, especially if you get a snowstorm on a Saturday night, and you can't recoup a Saturday night no matter how hard you work. Right. And think about it. This is many Saturday. I mean, tomorrow is St. Patty's Day. I mean, restaurants and pubs in Boston just they do huge business, and they'll never be able to recoup.
What are they going to do with all that green beer?
Exactly. Well, I heard Chicago wasn't putting green dye in the water this year, and I think actually we're being penalized too because a lot of people went out and celebrated too hard over the weekend, and you think all these college kids are home. And, what are they going to do? We're cooped up as it is, and hey, still break when we go out and before they,
So, Joe, I'm looking at the Globe website to keep up with the coronavirus death toll in Massachusetts, which stands at 0 today. When we went on the air, it was at 0. It's still at 0. But they got a story.
297 cases. They're saying
millennials don't believe this and aren't paying any attention. That's one story. And then the other story is elderly people don't believe this and aren't paying attention. So there's, So what is this? What's going on here? You know, I mean, there's nobody. And again, I'm not downplaying the virus, but there's nobody dead here. I don't even know anybody who's sick myself personally.
Yeah.
And yet
they're
they're shutting down. It seems like everything, huge swaths of the not the state, the national economy.
Right. And I'm even thinking about they're not even talking about kids graduating. I mean, how are they going to? They're going to get online classes. I've heard some schools are going to offer that, and some colleges. But how are kids going to graduate? And be prepared for standardized testing and even, I mean, they're losing this year of education, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's going to be very difficult for them to be able to be on par with where they should be academically, whether they're in high school, grade school, or college for that matter. So
all right, Joe. Uber Jason says Uber Eats is going to be a gold mine. Maybe it is. I don't think Uber overall is doing all that well right now. So maybe you better sign up, Uber Jason. Hey, Joe Piantadosi, thanks for being with us. We appreciate it, and I hope hope everything works out for Piantadosi Baking and for everybody too, for that matter. All right, thanks for the call. 844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr.
He didn't come here to be made sport of. Howie Carr.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Honest Howie's History Podcast. Hear about Joe Kennedy's potential run against Ed Markey for the U.S. Senate and learn how history repeats itself. Available now at HowieCarrShow.com.
There's a lot to love about you.
There's a lot to love about driving a brand new 2020 Subaru Forester. From its standard symmetrical all-wheel drive to its EyeSight driver assist technology. Love all the Forester has to offer. Lease for only $265 per month for 36 months with $24.65 due at signing. Details at SubaruofNewEngland.com. You don't want to miss the Subaru of New England A Lot to Love event.
Let me tell you about a new sponsor to the Howie Carr Show, Helping Hands of America. For over 2 decades, Helping Hands has made donating your car, truck, or boat to a New England charity incredibly easy. I've donated, and you should too. It takes one call. The pickup is not only fast, but it's free, and your donation is 100% tax deductible. Call Helping Hands at 888-881-9090. That's 888-881-9090. Or visit helpinghandsofamerica.org. Restrictions may apply.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Is Kennedy Babylon 2 your last book?
No, if I think of another topic for a book I want to write, I'll go for it. But I think it's the last of my Kennedy Babylon series. I made Kennedy Babylon 2 kind of long because I wanted to get everything in there. Now there's other stuff I could write about, but I'm Kennedy now. Since having the sleeve operation, do you miss not eating big meals? No, I don't. I can still eat what I used to eat. I just can't eat as much. I'm now very surprised how much I used to eat. I'm surprised at how much people I eat with consume. It's just hard to believe that I used to eat that much, but no, it's not a problem.
How is Mr. Gooner since Pearl's passing?
Mr. Gooner is drowning his sorrows in food.
What is the most trouble you ever got into as a kid?
My father was giving me grief one time up at Moosehead Lake in Maine, and I threw a rock at him. He didn't much like that. Why is finding promo codes that actually work so hard? With Honey, it doesn't have to be. Honey is the free online shipping tool that automatically finds the best promo codes so you don't have to search for one yourself. No more Googling promo codes and only finding expired ones. No more digging in the dark corners of the internet, desperately looking for a discount. Just download Honey to your computer and head to one of your favorite shopping sites like Walmart, Home Depot, eBay, Target, etc. When you check out, click the little Apply Coupons button that pops up. Wait a few seconds for Honey to scan its database of all the working coupons on the web. Then watch your price drop. Honey has over 100,000 five-star reviews. That's a lot. So you know it must be good. In fact, Honey's found over $2 billion in savings for its nearly 20 million members. Not using Honey is literally passing out free money. Download Honey on your computer for free at joinhoney.com/Howie. That's joinhoney.com/Howie.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Can you remember any time in your life when you were starstruck?
One time I saw Peter Vesey, the NBA columnist for the New York Post. He was in the Herald sports department. I really liked his column, so I went up and introduced myself to him. Then one time there was Cousin Brucey from WABC, and I used to listen to him driving back and forth between Chapel Hill and Deerfield when I was in college. Everybody on the East Coast listened to him. I couldn't believe that I was in the presence of Cousin Brucey.
Do you ever play bridge anymore?
No, I haven't played bridge in a very long time. Nobody I know plays bridge. I think my bridge days are behind me.
Do you think you'd still be good at it?
I'm not a great bidder, but I know how to count cards. That to me is the essence of playing a hand of bridge, is to be able to count cards.
What is a rhino?
Rhino is a Republican in name only. Think Paul Ryan. Oh, think Mitt Romney. Think Jeff Flake.
Hi, this is Val from Longmeadow, Mass.
Hi, this is Tony and Pietra from Haverhill, Massachusetts.
This is Myrnie in Fairfax County, Virginia, and this is the Howie Carr Show.
More people are sick in America tonight because Donald Trump is president. More people are dead and dying in America tonight because Donald Trump is president. More people are losing more of their life savings and retirement accounts today because Donald Trump is president.
Who would have ever believed that Chris Matthews, Comrade Chris, would be fired before Lawrence stopped the hammering O'Donnell? I mean, how is he permitted to just engage in this kind of irresponsible nonsense night after night after night?
Stop the hammering. Stop the hammering out there. Who's got a hammer? Where is it? Where's the hammer? Is it on the, go up on the other floor. Somebody go up there and stop the hammering.
That's why, hey, Lawrence, stop the yammering. Stop the yammering, would you? Today's poll question is brought to you by the all-new 2020 Subaru Outlook featuring symmetrical all-wheel drive. Go where love takes you. Taylor, what's the poll question? What are the results thus far?
Will the White House impose a national curfew by the end of the week?
I hope not. I'm less sure than I was when we started, but I'm still going to say no.
30% say yes.
Okay. 413. This is nothing but a bury the economy ploy to hammer Trump, and they couldn't give a bleep about the hospitality industry. Power is all. I think you're not necessarily wrong there. 844-500-4242. Here's a someone from Idaho. Out here, hundreds of truckloads of produce are not being delivered because of the restaurants being shut down. I hadn't even thought about that. And here's another one, 978. Bleep your green beer. The bleeping food prep for Tuesday is being thrown out. 844-500-4242. We'll take some calls on this. I got a lot to get to, including another sexual allegations scandal against professors set off social media frenzy at Berklee College of Music. This place has been a hotbed of hashtag Me Too lately, and now Livingston Taylor, younger brother of James Taylor, has been dragged into this. Although some people are saying that he's just an out of touch old coot, and kind of seems like that's what it's all about. But I'll fill you in on it a little bit. 844-500-4242. Morgan, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Morgan. You there,
Howie?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Love the show. I just want to say, I'm sorry I'm on speakerphone right now, but with all the fake news media going on for the last 3.5 years,
yes,
it's really hard to get on board with the coronavirus. I've got 2 kids in school. No one's sick. I'm pretty sure my whole family had coronavirus like 3.5 weeks ago. I just want, can you tell me I'm wrong or I'm right, please?
No, I tend to agree. I mean, I don't, I take this, honestly, I take it with a grain of salt. I don't want to be irresponsible here and say, don't worry about it. I mean, however, the disparate treatment of the swine flu situation in 2009 and 2020, the coronavirus is just, it's breathtaking. I mean, you can't help but be taken aback by, it seems that the only difference is that then you had a Democrat president that the media wanted to protect and from any criticism. And now you have a Republican president who has to be buffeted about no matter how spurious the criticism might be. And I don't know what he's done wrong here. Thank you. Thanks. 844-500-4242. Let's see here. Ken, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Ken.
Hey, Howie, it's Ken from Nimlock, Maine, up in Scarborough.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good. You might remember I advertised my trade show business.
I do. You did some beautiful posters for me too. Good. Yes.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what's going on in the trade show and convention world. Nothing. The only time the phone rings is when somebody calls to say, cancel my order. The show has been canceled. And that's happening all over the country.
So you're suffering financial loss because of this.
Oh, well, absolutely. I mean, we had the best first quarter going that we've had in years and years, the way this economy was rolling along. And about a week ago, it just stopped.
Yeah. All right, Ken, good luck to you. And thanks for checking in. I appreciate it. 844-500-4242. I'm Howie Carr.
Primary season is upon us, and as we officially enter the 2020 presidential campaign clown show, we here at Matthews Brothers are once again girding our loins against the upcoming deluge of innuendo, deception, and slander we fondly refer to as campaign rhetoric. You'd think that after 166 years and 41 presidential campaigns, our loins would be fairly well girded. But as the boys used to say, an extra gird or two never hurt. And while we accept this from our elected officials, we expect better things from the private sector. Problem is, there's a surprising number of companies that don't feel obligated to this higher standard. Even in the home improvement industry, whose reputation for ethical standards rival those of used car dealers and personal injury attorneys, we have those who would bend the truth to make a sale. That's why we here at Matthews Brothers have always favored science over scams. We provide more written performance information on every window we ship than nearly every other window manufacturer out there. You can learn more about the performance of our wicked awesome Maine-made windows and doors, but only at Better Lumber Yards and Window Professionals, or on the web at MatthewsBrothers.com. Matthews Brothers with one T, America's oldest window manufacturer.
Joe Biden might be running for president in 2020, so we should play some of his greatest hits.
Barack and I finally reduced the disparity in sentencing, which we've been fighting to eliminate, in crack cocaine versus powder cocaine. Correct. It was a big mistake when it was made. We were told by the experts that crack, you never go back.
You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent.
If you want to protect yourself, get a double-barrel shotgun. If there's ever a problem, just walk out on the balcony, put that double-barrel shotgun, and fire 2 blasts.
They're going to put you all back in chains. Give me a break. That's a bunch of malarkey.
The 3-letter word, jobs. J-O-B-S, jobs.
One man stands ready to deliver change we desperately need. A man I'm proud to call my friend. A man who will be the next president of the United States, Barack America.
Taylor.
Did you already blow it on your New Year's resolution?
Taylor.
Did you stick to that
Can
trendy
you tell
new diet plan?
Stop the Race to tweet out from the American Thinker, remember the H1N1 pandemic? I don't either, by Brian Jundepp.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna read it right now.
In order to sleep through the night, I'm able to go on bike rides every day. Sometimes I go on 2 or 3. I have much lower blood pressure, a lot more energy. I still eat what I want to eat, but unlike before the sleeve, now I don't overeat. Get the weight off for good. Call Newton Wellesley Weight Loss Center. Call 617-243-3724 or go to nwh.org/weight loss. Don't procrastinate any longer. Whatever your age, whatever your gender, do it. Call 617-243-3724 or go to nwh.org/weight loss.
And now, an interview with the Emperor of Hate, Howie Carr.
Who do you consider the biggest rhino in the Republican Party?
Probably is Paul Ryan. I wish a Republican were still the speaker, but Paul Ryan was scarcely a Republican. And there was a reason he was Mitt Romney's running mate, because we had a rhino ticket in 2012.
Where did the expression, "How many more, Mr. Speaker? How many more?" come from?
That comes from the State House. There used to be a state rep who sometimes would talk about atrocities that were happening in crime. And he would get up there and he would say, "How many more, Mr. Speaker? How many more?" And I just picked it up and it became a trademark.
Where's your favorite place to go out to eat in Palm Beach?
My favorite place to go in Palm Beach is probably the Honor Bar, which used to be O-Bar, and you can get a really great hamburger there, and they have a great coffee machine that brews each cup of coffee individually.
Are we starting to feel bad for Joe Biden? Sorta. Are we going to play his gaffes anyway? Of course.
My name's Joe Biden. I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate.
Now we need to stand behind Jamie Harrison, the next president, next senator.
I'm looking forward to appointing the first African-American woman to the United States Senate.
You want to set up that Cheers clip? That's pretty good.
Oh yeah, I will. No, how should I set it up? I just sent it to you and didn't listen to it.
Oh, it's this guy who gets a job as a janitor at a biochemical place, and as soon as he leaves, they're all wiping down the counters and everything. So it's kind of a visual, but it's still funny.
Okay.
You cannot have 20, 30, 40, 50 clips in a weapon.
We'll see who's sleepy. Mr. Vice President, thank you. All right, Chuck. Thank you very much. All right. It's Christmas.
Sometimes I wake up and I think it's 1920, not 2020.
Did you want to do hate mail at some point? Or just hold it off?
Why don't we just do it tomorrow? Let's do
right.
it tomorrow.
Okay.
Live from the Matthews Brothers Studios.
I think we'll do hate mail Monday tomorrow. Just we've been tied up and we haven't taken many calls. I want to take some more calls, and I got a couple other stories I want to get to here tonight. But I just want to give you something from Cheers. This is from 35 years ago. One of the guys one of the regulars at the bar gets a job as a janitor, Chuck, at a biolab, and it's more visual than it would be preferable to have it on video rather than audio, but it's still pretty funny. So this is they're saying hello to Chuck. This is at the Cheers bar, who's just got a job as a janitor at a biolab. Cut 18.
So Chuck, how's the job search going, huh? I got something, Sam, but I'm not too excited about it. I'm a janitor at a biology lab where they do DNA experiments, making mutant viruses and stuff. Well, that sounds like a pretty good job. I don't know. It makes me nervous, all that weird stuff floating around.
Oh, don't worry about it. I'm sure it's safe.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They keep all the right precautions. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I guess you're right. Must be getting a little paranoid, huh? I'm feeling better already. See you later.
Yeah, take care, Chuck.
So they're all going crazy, cleaning everything up. All right. That's the way it's going, right? Anyway, this is from Brian June Deep. He's a physician, an MD out in Denver, and he's pretty good. He writes for the American Thinker, and I read his stuff. He has a column every Monday in the American Thinker, and he's an MD. And he has one today. It's really good. We talked about this a little bit, the differences between the swine flu in 2009, the way it's covered and the way it's just handled in general, and the way coronavirus is, even though the death toll right now is a much greater magnitude with the old swine flu. I mean, everybody's and the headline is, remember the H1N1 pandemic? I don't either. Joe Biden was in the administration and he was in charge of handling it, and he called it the N1H1 virus last night. That's how little he remembers. Of course, he doesn't remember much, does he? But anyway, this is John Deep's column, and we're going to tweet it out. So if you want to get it, because it's pretty good. And he says, Wuhan virus is not the first viral pandemic America has had to contend with. The last one was the H1N1 virus from 2009. How did America react to that last pandemic 10 years ago? Does anyone have more than a vague recollection of H1N1, also known as swine flu? No one will forget this current panic, but most have forgotten H1N1. During the swine flu pandemic, were there mass cancellations of events, including conferences, concerts, sporting events, and entire professional sports leagues? Did colleges cancel classes, finishing the remainder of their semesters online? Were travel restrictions imposed between America and Europe? Were panicked Americans hoarding everything from toilet paper to pasta? I certainly have no recollection of any of that. In 2009, congressional Democrat leaders weren't criticizing the president. Instead, they were trying to force through a government takeover of healthcare known as Obamacare. Criticizing its namesake wasn't in the Democrat media's playbook, and they all but ignored the swine flu. What a difference a decade in a president makes. As of this writing, there are 63 deaths in the U.S. due to coronavirus, 40 of which were in Washington state. The vast majority of Washington deaths involved patients at a skilled nursing facility in Kirkland, elderly and with underlying medical problems. The coronavirus is quite selective as to who it kills. From the New York Times, quote, among the people in the U.S. who have died from coronavirus, almost all have been in their 70s, 80s, or 90s. The youngest known fatality was a man in his 40s. Unlike other viral epidemics, coronavirus is not killing the young and healthy. For comparison, let's look at swine flu. It was first detected in April 2009, primarily affecting children and adults under 65. The World Health Organization declared swine flu a pandemic in June 2009. President Obama didn't declare it a national emergency for 4 years until October 2009. In contrast, the World Health Organization declared coronavirus a pandemic on March 11th. 2 days later, on March 13th, President Trump declared it a national emergency. 2 days versus 4 months. Yet if you watch cable news, it's Trump who doesn't know what he's doing and is dropping the ball. What a difference a president makes. Swine flu caused 60.8 million illnesses, 273,000 hospitalizations, and 12,469 deaths in the U.S. Worldwide, swine flu may have killed up to 203,000 people, more than the number thus far infected with coronavirus, with the vast majority of those infected recovering uneventfully. Why wasn't virtually every major sporting event in 2009 canceled given these numbers, especially with swine flu preferentially affecting the young? Granted, the coronavirus hasn't yet run its course and the number will likely increase, but look at the comparison of numbers and reaction now versus then. In the U.S., 63 deaths versus 12,000 then, 3,600 cases now versus 60 million then. Yet I don't remember the hair on fire media reaction now versus then. What a difference a president makes. Again, this is the American thinker, Dr. Brian Jundeep. This is from a May 1st, 2009 article in the New York Times. And of course, it was praising Obama's leadership. The president's comments about the pandemic, preparing for the pandemic, came at the end of a week-long balancing act in which his public words and actions were carefully measured to summon a sense of urgency without setting off a panic. It was no coincidence, his aides said, that he played golf the day his administration declared a national emergency. And as Dr. Jundeep says, imagine if Trump had played golf last week. I'm sure the media would just mention it in passing as an example of President Trump trying to avoid setting off a panic. So that's a good story. That's a good summation of what's going on. Rocky, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Rocky.
Hey, Howie, thanks for taking my call. Hey, I wanted to ask you something. It's been really bugging me. that moron Biden, right? So he's going to be the nominee from Africa. He got arrested, right, in Connecticut or something with Mandela. But anyway,
Soweto. He got arrested in
ask you
Soweto, even though Mandela wasn't in Soweto. He and Mandela got arrested in Soweto.
Oh, that's right. But anyway, Howie, I wanted to ask you this: what's to keep the left from propping up that moron Biden, right, and then working a deal with him to make that fat slob Clinton his vice president, and then he steps aside with the 25th Amendment that they tried to pin on Trump, and then she takes over the country? What's to keep that from happening?
Well, I mean, for starters, he should be keeping it from happening if he has even an ounce of brain power left. And granted, that's a debatable point. But why would he pick somebody like that? Number one, I don't think should help him in the election. And number two, he'd have to be looking over his shoulder. He could never. He'd have to sleep with one eye open. It's ridiculous. I don't think he would. I don't think he'd go along with it. I hope he wouldn't. Thanks for the call, Rocky. We'll take your calls at 844-500-4242. This is from Front Page Magazine. The CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, was fighting racism and obesity instead of stopping epidemics. This is by Daniel Greenfield. This is new today, too. We should probably tweet this out as well, Taylor. The Centers for Disease Control has a $6.6 billion budget and one job, which it messes up every time. The last time CDC had a serious workout was 6 years ago during the Ebola crisis. During the Ebola crisis, Democrats tried to shift responsibility from the Obama administration by blaming congressional Republicans for cutting the CDC's budget from $6.5 billion to $5.9 billion. Sound familiar? Where did those billions for the CDC actually go? Among other things, pushing gun control. The terrible budget deal from last December allocated another $25 million to the CDC and the National Institutes of Health to study gun violence. And as I pointed out with Corey Lewandowski, the CDC has a history of wasting money on everything from a $106 million visitor center with Japanese gardens, a $200,000 gym, a transgender beauty pageant, not to mention promoting bike paths. In 1999, the CDC, again, this is the CDC supposed to be handling this. And somehow it's Trump's fault. In 1999, the CDC announced a plan to end syphilis in 5 years. Why did they just announce a plan to end death, too, while they were at it? The Clinton-era national plan to eliminate syphilis was an unserious social welfare proposal that wanted to battle racism and was such a success that by 2018, syphilis rates had hit a new record high. Democrat presidential candidates using the CDC for imaginary proposals to end the disease, not by utilizing science, but by social welfare, had become a bad habit under Obama. No kidding. Everything was every agency, every budget line item was a slush fund for his friends and allies and bundlers, diverting resources from what the CDC could realistically do to political scams to benefit the Democrat fundamental transformation of America. In 2011, Hillary Clinton had promised an AIDS-free generation in part by using the CDC. Like her presidency, the AIDS-free generation never arrived and was never going to. In 2016, people have forgotten this one, Obama allowed Joe Biden to use the CDC for his cancer moonshot political stunt. If I'm elected president, you're going to see the single most important thing that changes America. We're going to cure cancer, Biden promised. The CDC was started as an agency to fight malaria by spraying DDT. I don't have to tell you how politically incorrect that is today. So they've also been engaged, the CDC, instead of trying to, come up with vaccines or giving us a heads up on any of these viruses, they have decided to take on the obesity epidemic. That included funding 15 colleges to, quote, work with community extension services to increase access to healthier foods and safe and accessible places for physical activity. LSU, for example, Louisiana State, got over $1 million to work with farmers markets. But and as Greenfield says, this is every agency in the U.S. is like this. It's just that right now, CDC, Centers for Disease Control, is under the microscope because of this coronavirus. But they're all just fonts of waste, fraud, and abuse. 844-500-4242. Online shopping is supposed to be easy. Like I said, it's where I get my my pods from my espresso machine at home. It's where I go to get my cheap mystery novels that I read at night now that there's no more sports and the newscasts are increasingly difficult to watch. It's great. But you know what I like to get? I like to get the coupon codes to save a couple of bucks on the books. Why is finding coupon codes that actually work so hard? With Honey, it doesn't have to be. Honey is the free online shipping tool that automatically finds the best promo codes and applies them to your cart. Just download Honey to your computer and shop on all your favorite websites like normal. I'll bet you're shopping more than ever on websites now. You're trying to order products that your local pharmacy or supermarket has run out of. Or
Amazon has had to hire a lot more people to handle the influx of online shopping.
Yeah. It's you're shopping more, everybody's shopping more online, and there's no reason not to take advantage of this great new service called Honey to get these coupon codes that are available. So just download Honey to your computer and shop on all your favorite websites. When you check out, just click the little apply coupon buttons that pops up. Wait a few seconds for Honey to scan its database of all the working coupons on the web. Then watch your price drop. Grace can tell you about how it works. It's great. I do it now. Whenever I go to online, I hit the apply coupons button, even if I don't have a coupon, because I know Honey is going to search for it now. It saves you all kinds of time. It's very convenient. You don't have to worry about writing it down or putting it on your smartphone, what coupon
Howie,
code to use. Go ahead.
Everyone's ordering things from their house right now, and it's a smart thing to do. But a lot of times, if you go onto these websites to find coupons, you will find things that expired 2 years ago, and then you're missing out on all the things that are actually active on the site. And a lot of sites are running tons of deals right now because they're getting so much business. So be sure to have Honey, and you don't have to do any work. It will do all the work for you.
This is an inconvenient time, but Honey is a real convenience in this inconvenient time. And when this emergency is over, you'll still have it and you'll be saving money. Honey works on nearly every online store, including Walmart, Target, Home Depot, Macy's, Etsy, and more. Honey has found over $2 billion in savings. That's why it has over 100,000 five-star reviews on the Google Chrome store. Not using Honey is literally passing up free money. Plus, it's free to use and installs in just a few seconds. Get Honey for free. That's right, for free at joinhoney.com/Howie. That's joinhoney.com/Howie. I'm Howie Carr.
The Howie Carr Show.
This hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Boone's Fish House and Oyster Room on the Portland waterfront. For amazing wood-grilled meats and seafood, visit the home of the baked stuffed lobster, Boone's, Portland.
And now, 1 minute of Nancy Pelosi.
It is a bill that is much needed for our farmers and ranchers. I think there are only 47 votes against it in the House of Representatives. The American people should know the source of it. Again, we are engaged in the year-end continuing resolution, Homeland Security. I'm not sure. No, I haven't spoken to him since he called the other day, which was a very amicable conversation. Amiable, I guess you would say, not amicable. And I talked to Chuck last night to say, we haven't had an answer. There are other things that are going on that are newsworthy, and I think you'd have more viewers or readers if people address concerns that people have. The list goes on about
I'm here with Dr. Bruce Houghton from Perfect Smiles in Nashua, New Hampshire. Dr. Houghton, tell us about the state-of-the-art procedures that can help many people look 10 to 15 years younger.
As we age, we do lose these proper proportions to our faces. And so if you're deficient in your chin or mid-face, we can create the proper proportions and make you look great. Sometimes we use orthodontics to change the look of the face. Sometimes we just use the teeth themselves, and it creates the right support for a beautiful face. They're all non-surgical procedures.
There's some pretty complex cases that you deal with. Give me an example of a tough case.
Well, some cases, people just are missing a lot of teeth. I get a lot of people that come in and think that I cannot solve their problems because they're too great, but I really can. We've been doing this for over 35 years, and there isn't much that we haven't seen.
So even if you're missing a few teeth, or your teeth are discolored, or you're very embarrassed, there's no reason not to come in for a consultation, right?
Absolutely. New techniques, new technology, things are available to us that we never had before, and we can handle just about everything.
Where can people find you?
So you can find us at perfectsmiles.com or call 844-A-PERFECT-SMILE.
I've seen a lot of Anchor cupcakes in my day. Here are some of the latest network nitwits.
And he says, if I'm elected president, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. Correct me, there already are term limits, so what does he mean?
And what are we hearing in the background? Is that shelling?
No, Katie, Katie, you're actually hearing that from here in Jerusalem, and it's actually fireworks going off right behind me.
We're in our tribes, we're in our corners most of our lives. I think we just heard some gunshots. Should we listen to that for a second? Control room? So that's not gunshots? Okay.
Ivanka is not the second lady. She is actually, I don't think she deserves this position. She's actually a senior advisor to the president. So the idea that he would demean her specifically in that way, he shouldn't talk about the first lady that way. We aren't all here to make salads for men. It's disgusting.
I mean, I'm presuming he was talking about Karen Pence when he said second lady.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. Not Montana. I'm talking about never mind.
Yeah, no, Chester, I mean, that's Republicans could add to
I was getting Montana and North Dakota confused because, I don't know, I just was.
This is Mark in Williston, Vermont.
This is Marie in Somerville, Massachusetts.
This is Mike from South Attleboro, Mass. And this is the Howie Carr Show.
Here's a headline in the New York Post. Soccer coach Francisco Garcia dies from coronavirus at age 21. Okay, here's the lead. A 21-year-old Spanish soccer coach was killed by the coronavirus while also battling leukemia, according to a report. Is leukemia called an underlying condition? I think the headline's a little misleading. I'll just read you this one thing, but we'll take a few more calls. Sexual harassment allegations against professors set off social media frenzy at Berkeley College of Music. One of the elite school's best-known faculty members, Livingston Taylor, is facing complaints from two women who accuse him of making inappropriate remarks about their bodies in class. My professor told me I will be successful in music because men are drawn to me in a sexual way, wrote the student, Ling Bian. One of the male students who spoke with the Globe said that while he found Bian's story factually correct, he believes she misinterpreted the advance from James Taylor's younger brother, who he described as an old man who was just out of touch. I don't think he had any intention of making her feel so disgusting, he said, but the fact is that he did. All right, let's take a couple of calls here quickly. Joseph, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, Joseph.
Hey, Howie, thank you for taking my call. I've been talking to you for 2 years. Jared's very kind. I'm a visually impaired person, and this man is governor is a disgrace. Okay? Whether I like Obama or like Trump, they don't know how to handle this. The governor shouldn't be doing what he's doing. I think Obama may have done things better in this case, but you don't shut the whole country down. My physician said, Joe, it's going to pass. They just have to take care of themselves like the swine flu and others. Harvard has never been shut down for years. I have to eat out and I don't cook. How am I going to have food delivered? I called the governor's office. They never got back with me.
I don't know what to tell you, Joseph. I don't know. It's you're right. I mean, none of this stuff has ever happened before. I mean, they're canceling things that weren't canceled during the March Madness, the NCAA basketball tournament. It wasn't canceled during World War II. and it's canceled now? Are you kidding me? I don't know. And again, I'm not saying, don't take precautions and all that, but do we really have to cancel everything? Thanks for the call, Joseph. I'm sorry. I wish I had more answers for you. Tom, you're next.
No time.
All right. 844-500-4242. Well, the good news about all the restaurants being closed is that the Berkeley College Predators aren't going to be able to invite their young female students out for coffee and ask them to, well, you'll have to read the story yourself. I'm Howie Carr.
Did you already blow it on your New Year's resolution?